Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Twisted Tragedies, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am your host, Elise, and happy Saturday morning, everybody. I hope everybody has their coffee. I have mine. I have been up since 5 a.m. because, well, my little thought that, why does mom need to sleep on a Saturday? Why would that make any logical sense, folks? So she's been up since 5. She is not normally up that early. So I have been up for quite some time, digging into some cases, looking at some merch to be made and added to the store, and trying to get some work done before I see all of you. I need an extra half an hour this morning because I needed to get my coffee in and myself together. Oh, hey, Lisa. So I'll remind everybody before we start, of course, this is the way you donate to the channel if you would like to help out. Our channel is very small, so we rely on the kindness of all of you to bring donations in so that we can keep the channel running. We have costs that have to be covered, and YouTube, in all their kindness, takes over a month to pay people, and they take their cut. So the most direct routes to keep us afloat are these ones: Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Revolut. There is a link that we have made that works for anybody who wants to just use their credit or debit card. You don't need to have any of the payment apps. Revolut works for those of you who are in any other country, and also works for people in the United States. I am told by the people who have used it that there's no fees, which is amazing. I love that. And I'm glad to see some of you. Hi, Elaine. It's nice to see you from the UK. I know the time difference is rough for you guys, and I apologize about yesterday. My little was sick, and so I didn't do my stream until the nighttime, where hubby could sit with her and, uh, you know, cater to her needs while I was with all of you. So we had a short hour and a half live last night. If you didn't catch it, you should. Uh, Kaylee Gonsalves family shared with me some things about Kaylee and Maddie that I wanted to share with all of you. And I was honored to have that conversation with her family about all of this, and let them know that there are content creators out there that are not conspiracy pushers, that, will uh, help them if they need it. If there's something that they need to get out to the masses information wise, we're more than happy to assist. And we also let them know, keep your eyes on people that are willing to say the truth. And, I gave them names like Julie Grant and the Prosecutors Podcast, because I think it's important to make sure that people know where they can turn. I'm not as large as some of those people, obviously, but if they needed a bigger audience, I figured those would be my referrals. And so I was happy to have a conversation with the Gonsalves family. They're amazing advocates for all of the victims, but specifically Kaylee and Maddie, because Maddie was just basically like one of their own, being Kaylee's best friend since 6th grade. So um, the message that they wrote me in return was beautiful. I cried like a baby, to be honest, um, because it was wonderfully written, and it was kind, and I hope that it last night's shows kind of puts other content creators on notice that these are people's lives, and let's not forget the people who lost their lives in some of these really horrific ways. Let's not be the memory of how they died, but who they were. And I try to approach all cases that way, by, telling a little bit of the audience about who these people were, you know? And so I was happy to sort of lay the focus back on the 4 beautiful souls that were lost in Idaho, and going forward. Um, so we have 5 cases today. It's Saturday. We have a laid back show, but we have 5 cases that we're going to talk about. Some that are from 2025, but some that just have renewed attention in 2025 that are just bizarre. Okay, absolutely bizarre. Also, we're going to talk about all the things that you guys love to just talk about anyway, because it's Saturday. And what would Saturday be without having a more relaxed feel of talking about some of the things that my audience wants to talk about? There's also a little clip of something that I'm going to show you guys about something interesting that happened. And because of Karen Reed's trial, I didn't see it. Everybody was dealing with that. So it was something that I didn't see, but something that definitely a spotlight should be put on, especially for women. we don't get the same pay as men, not by a long shot, not even on YouTube, my friends. Women and men have a disparage in the way they get paid, in the way they get treated in the workplace, things of that nature. And it's the truth, unfortunately, and sad. Not everywhere, of course, not everywhere, but some places, especially police departments. So there's this clip, I think, that we're going to watch real quick before we get into the 5 cases that are just bizarre. Hi, Dougie. Hi, DJ. Hold on a second, guys. Hold on one second. I'm being asked to do something for the hubs, and he's not home. He's at a tournament, so and he's probably trying to. Let's see. Okay. I don't know why my phone's so slow today. Where it's just like, hey, thank you, DJ. Actually, just threw myself together. It's Saturday. I don't even care. I have to wear my glasses because my contacts were starting to hurt this eye. And I don't have an extra pair right now. I had already used my last pair, so I was using them when I probably should have already tossed them. I have to pick up new ones, but they're not open until Monday. So I am stuck with said glasses until Monday, which does not make me happy, but whatever. I will work with it. Yes, the like button is very, very helpful. We appreciate that. And of course, I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but all right. That should be all set. All right. Sorry, guys. Sorry about that. Apologize. When you do donate, we don't read. People ask me sometimes privately, like in emails. I don't read people's regular like government names. I'll read your screen name if I know it. Some people will include their screen name so that I can just thank that person. And sometimes if it just comes across as their regular name, I just read it as anonymous or the first name if it's a common first name. Because you don't want people stalking and harassing your life because they know your name. That's not cute. We don't like that. And all of my stuff like Venmo, PayPal, Revolut, no one can see that but me anyway. So thankfully it's all super safe and locked down because if people like the cult, you have to be very careful. All right. Now, this clip is something I came across while doing some research about something totally different. And it was interesting to me because Dedham is where we just had the Superior Court, right? This is where the Superior Court case just happened. Oh my God. Hold on, folks. 1 second. Sorry, guys. It was the hubby calling from his tournament. He has a tournament today. Yeah, we don't condone bullying or harassment. No one should be bullied or harassed. It's just unacceptable. So anyway, I came across this doing research something else. And as we know, Karen Reed's trial took place at the Dedham Superior Courthouse. So Dedham cops and also the state police were out there sort of dealing with the crowds and the people and all that happy horseshit. Now, this happened about 2 weeks ago. A Dedham sergeant, who happens to be a woman, actually sued the city of Dedham and the police department and got a settlement of $1.3 million. $1.3 million. Why? Because she was passed over she took the civil service exam to get a promotion and was second on the list. So basically, it should have been a shoe-in, no problem, for her to get that position. They passed her over for a man who had scored lower than she did. And then once she filed suit, they put her on paid leave, which is retaliation. So then Smart, as her attorney was, and her, they decided, hey, we're going to add a retaliation claim into this, discrimination lawsuit. This kind of got passed over with the news because, well, the trial was happening, unfortunately. But I think it's really important to show when there is something fishy going on. When we know there wasn't anything fishy in Karen's case, multiple entities, including the FBI, have looked into it. But I do think it's important to point out corruption or people using their power in a way that they shouldn't, like this. And I will call out the denim chief for that in this, because that is who decided what he was going to do in this scenario. What really makes me upset about this is that this happens to women more often than not, especially, and I can attest to this working in the criminal justice system, especially in places like police stations and jails. Women often are passed over for promotions. Specifically, I'll talk about jails because I've worked in one, because they think we're not strong enough or we can't handle it, that a man would be stronger, like you wouldn't be put in a you wouldn't be the top person in the like crisis unit, basically, because, well, you're not a man. And I mean, I've lived it, so I know what it's like. They'll put you in units that are a little less intense, even if you want to and have the skills to be in a more intense unit. Now, if you push and push and push, eventually you might get what you deserve and what you're meant to do. In this woman's case, she got the promotion after the lawsuit, and this is what happened.
This day and age, this should not be happening. I hope that what I went through and what I prevailed in will help other females in law enforcement if they're going through this.
Tonight, in our Emmy Award-winning Small Town Secrets, a Dedham police sergeant is speaking exclusively with the NBC 10 investigators. She describes what made her file a discrimination and retaliation lawsuit against her own.
So this right here is the Dedham sergeant. I have a love-hate relationship with law enforcement. I respect their jobs. I worked in the criminal justice system in a prison for the criminally insane for a long time. It's a hard job. Any kind of law enforcement. Good morning, Benny. It's a hard job, but this kind of behavior for a chief, this is why people use the excuse of good old boys network. These instances are the reasons why Karen's case was allowed to get as ridiculous into the conspiracy as it was, partly because of bad actors like the chief in Dedham that did what he did to this sergeant.
Own boss, the police chief. Her allegations resulted in a 7-figure taxpayer settlement before the case even made it to a jury.
And tonight, our NBC 10 investigator Ryan Kohberger reveals why.
The only way I can describe it is like they're clipping your wings. They know you can see it. They know you're more than capable of obtaining it, but they'll do everything in their power to stop you from getting there.
Marissa Holland describing her 4-year legal battle against the town.
And she's right. Once you file suit, they will do, and you have dirt on them that proves that it is discrimination or they're doing something else shady. Like, so here's the thing. I was part of an employment lawsuit years and years ago that we won in a settlement. And they said we were independent contractors when we were in fact employees. And they did a whole bunch of illegal stuff. Now, we had quite a bit of evidence, and being as savvy as I am, I kept a lot of stuff when I started suspecting they were doing some shady shit, right? So we had a ton of proof that what they were doing was not only illegal, but discriminatory and then retaliatory as well. And I dealt with this same process over again, helping a friend of mine who was illegally terminated from her position somewhere for speaking up about something that shouldn't have been happening. And then because she was smart enough to contact me and I was, told her what to get, she was able to go and get that job back by them caving in court because they knew they were screwed ultimately. And now they're being federally sued by her. They retaliated a dozen or more times after she had already told them, like, hey, this is now become a court issue. I think women and men can actually work really well alongside each other. I saw a lot of that in the prison, where great respect from a lot of men in my, at least my generation, who worked well with the women who worked in that prison. And there were a lot of us. I think it was a pretty good ratio, almost 50-50 really, of men versus women working in a prison for the criminally insane. And I can say that not the bosses, not the company, the private company I work for itself that had the contract in the prison, but the other people that were hired. Those people, there wasn't a lot of discrimination in like the people who were hired at the same level and higher than me when that company first took over. The discrimination we saw came from the company itself and their sort of big bosses in a different state. That's where we saw it come from the top down. And when it comes from the top down, it is just bred with corruption and thinking that they can get away with things that are illegal, because especially police, you're held to a better standard. And the problem is the chief of police, of course, any chief of police is going to think, well, I am the law, so who's going to believe you? They're going to bully you into submission, or they're going to basically bully you until they give you an assignment way out in the middle of the boondocks, in the middle of nowhere, doing nothing until you give up and quit and go away. And that's oftentimes why officers in general won't speak up about certain things that they think are not right, because they know that if they do, they're going to be sent somewhere real far away, something they don't want to do, with shitty hours and shittier pay, I have one account on Twitter, and then there's fakers, big fat fakers on Twitter that like to impersonate me. I have one account and one account only, the one that me and you have talked on before. That's it. Do you know there's an impersonation of you? Did you know there was a fake you account, Benny? I saw it yesterday. I was like, for the love of God.
Of Dedham and the police department, where she's worked for more than a decade. Holland grew up in Dedham and wanted to follow in the public service footsteps of her late father, a Vietnam vet who enlisted in the Marines. It was a dream when her hometown department came calling in 2011.
I loved it. I always tried to advance, take a lot of courses and trainings.
On 2 occasions, Holland says her supervisors nominated her for Officer of the Year recognition. And when 2 openings surfaced for sergeant positions, Holland says she studied up and took the civil service promotional exam in 2020.
I ended up second on the list.
So how'd you feel about your chances?
I felt great. I was very proud of my score. I'm thinking, this is it. This is going to be the time when I get my promotion that I've been seeking for so long.
What happened?
I received a call from the chief of police saying they were going to promote one of the males that had scored less than me.
Holland says she immediately challenged getting passed over in an appeal before the Massachusetts Civil Service Commission. She prevailed and eventually received that promotion to sergeant. But through that process, she also decided there was enough evidence to pursue a lawsuit for gender discrimination.
What do you think made it rise to that level?
There was a lot of things that have gone on and were used against me that male counterparts had done, and they were not used against them.
All the while you're continuing to work in the department. You have the same boss that you filed the complaint against.
Yes.
How difficult is that?
I didn't know what was going to be done to me.
Joseph Solomon is Holland's attorney.
What happened here is the chief went after her after she filed and said, you challenged me. We're going to try to ruin your career.
In the wake of the lawsuit, Solomon says Police Chief Michael D'Entremont put Holland on administrative leave and told her the testimony she gave during her civil service appeal was under investigation. Holland and her attorney then added a retaliation claim to their case.
This is her career. She loves this job. You're the one who did something wrong here. You have to give. She's not going away.
Why do you think the town did not let this get to a jury?
Because they knew they were going to lose.
Just weeks before the case was scheduled for trial last month, court records show the sides reached a settlement, a $1.3 million judgment against the town.
It's great to know that the right thing's being done, but at the same time, what's changed?
Nothing.
I don't know.
We reached out to the police chief, the town administrator, and elected leaders on the select board for comment. In response, we received this statement. While the town does not admit to any intentional wrongdoing, this settlement enables us all to put this matter in the past. Sergeant Holland is a valued member of the Dedham Police Department, and we look forward to her continued service to the community.
The way I was treated was wrong. This type of treatment should never happen anywhere, let alone a police department responsible for protecting people's rights.
Correct.
In Dedham, Ryan Kath, NBC 10 Investigators.
Good for her for speaking out, because more often than not, We don't see that. You don't see them speaking out. Once a settlement is reached, they never speak about it again, and then people don't know what happened, or it comes with a non-disclosure agreement and an NDA that you can't say anything about it. Then it remains in the dark, right? I'm always for, saying when something happened that shouldn't have. That was 2 weeks ago. That interview was 2 weeks ago. It specifically was, let's see if it shows me a date. It was 2 weeks ago. I know that. Just says 2 weeks ago. It's unfortunate it doesn't say the date. But it was sad that this kind of got missed because of Karen's case, but at the same time, I'm for calling something out when it's wrong. And this is wrong, and Dougie, nobody should have to go through that. Nobody. If I do know that, especially with employment, there are a lot of attorneys that will take a discrimination case on contingency, which means you don't need to pay them anything up front. And then some of them will make it class action. And if more than one person have dealt with that kind of harassment, I have a really good attorney out of Boston. If anybody needs them, they're one of the top employment attorneys out there for this kind of stuff. So I'd be happy to share that information with anybody who needs it. You can just email me and I'll happily give you the info. I mean, I'm all for highlighting something that's not right. In Karen's case, though, there was no conspiracy, there was no vast corruption. And I am also going to correct something that I saw yesterday. Now, I know a lot of you, don't just watch me. A lot of you watch Grant, but I think Grant really needs to start being careful with the things that he puts out there, especially as fact when there's not only no evidence to it, it's completely nonsensical, and there would be evidence to show that that's not a thing. So I came across a post that Grant made talking about, how in Karen's case, there must have been FBI informants on the jury, or they were somehow involved. Not only is there no actual evidence to that whatsoever, there's actually evidence to say that definitely did not happen. So, I think you got to be really careful about the information that you take in with people saying things that are saying it is as if it is absolutely a fact, and it's not. I can tell you that the FBI didn't infiltrate Karen Reed's jury. Did we have a tampered jury? Did these people, willingly lie? Probably. At least some of them, yeah, definitely some of them lied to get onto that jury. They had preconceived notions. But the FBI did not infiltrate the jury and set up some sort of sting operation by letting Karen go free. That's not, that didn't happen. So just to throw that out there. I don't know why he wrote that. Not really sure why he wrote that. But I think misinformation, no matter what side it comes from, is something that needs to be called out. It hurts people. And when you start drawing lines to things that don't exist, that becomes a problem. Then you're willing to draw lines about all sorts of things that don't exist and couldn't have happened. I don't either, Maui. To me, we've all tried to help him and say, like, hey, you can't do that. It's not only is it not a good look, but you got to be, you got to make sure that you're giving correct information, because especially when you're giving it to an audience of people, if you're giving out false information, that is how Karen's case ended up the way it was. A bunch of people being fed false information by someone and them running with it, and then so on and so forth until it got to a point where there was no jury that wasn't going to be tampered with. The stuff that he's saying, while it might, be, true with the juror's father, it doesn't really have anything to do with Karen Reed's case as it is, or father-in-law. Sorry. It doesn't really have any tie-in other than, like, history of family members that do that kind of stuff, you know? Yeah, the conspiracy rabbit holes have to stop. I understand that he wants to uncover some vast conspiracy, but this is not the Bourne Identity. There is not always some vast governmental conspiracy around every turn. And I think, once again, if that's what you're selling and people are actually picking that up and taking it other places, that's you're hurting people. You're spreading misinformation that then hurts people. And I don't care what side of the fence that is on. I have a duty to say, hey guys, I know a lot of you watch the same people as I do, but that is misinformation. That is not a fact. That is not true. There is no evidence whatsoever that indicates the FBI, somehow tampered with the jury to allow Karen to go free. As a matter of fact, the FBI, from the source information that I have, okay, is that the new U.S. Attorney's office, when they took over the case, was utterly disgusted, and I know this to be a fact, utterly disgusted with what Josh Levy had done in the case, and immediately shut down that ridiculous operation and started looking into how it came to be to begin with. And so that's just not something that's true, unfortunately, for him. And I don't know why, why he's saying it. The problem is I mean, I don't know how many times I've told him this. If you put stuff out there that has no real truth to it, and it's just a feeling you have, it has no evidence to it whatsoever, you can't just say my sources told me that this happened, knowing that there's no source that could have told you that would have been true. Never mind, there's 17 factors that show that it couldn't possibly be true. I think it's a fixation on wanting to uncover a vast conspiracy anywhere, no matter where it is. We've all tried to help in a way where we're like, okay, like make your posts shorter so it's easier to digest, kind of get out of the rabbit holes that have evidence to show they don't exist. Stop drawing lines to things that don't exist and trying to make a pattern of something that isn't there. Because when you're trying to find a pattern, it's always going to exist, no matter what. Confirmation bias. It's always going to, if you're looking for something nefarious, there's going to be something nefarious. I think with him specifically, it's a conspiracy thing, and I wish he would let up on it, because not everything is some vast conspiracy with, paid bad actors and government, dear God, what have we stumbled upon? That it's just that's not real. It's not real. Well, 12 hours is a little much. But I mean, listen, since the Karen Read case has ended, there's a lot of people that have logged off since then. I don't blame them. I'd take a little break myself. It's disappointing. But when you stay on for 12 hours to make sure that you make X amount of dollars, and you'll stay on as long as that takes to do that, I mean, it's a little much. It is a little much. I couldn't sit for 12 hours just for my physical pain alone. I can't do it. The 7 and 8 from the trial hurts the hell out of my body. I have to shut the camera off. I got to get up. I got to, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. I cannot do 12-hour streams. I love you all, and I'd be willing to do like a 24-hour mega live stream if it was going to help like a family buy a home that's house burnt down or something like that. You know what I mean? Like help them buy a car to get to work, something of that nature. I would happily suck it up and do something like that, but I'm not doing that every day for no reason whatsoever. That's just not, I mean, you can't go down every rabbit hole that you think exists. And I get that. I totally understand it. But being wired differently also doesn't give you an excuse to just spread that kind of misinformation. I'm not going to stay on 12 hours. I've made very little in the last week since the trial ended. And, I don't give up. I don't give up, because there is a lot of work to be done in a lot of cases. And, it's not about staying on for as long as humanly possible to get paid the most that you can get paid. And if you don't hit that threshold, you stay on until you do. That's nonsensical. Everyone needs time to shut your brain off and stop. And I already have very little time to do that, because when I'm not here, I'm doing other things for here. So there's already very little time to do other things. You have to unplug at some point. You just have to. You have to chill out and like let your brain just chill, you know? I know about that. I'm talking about not necessarily the stuff with her dad. I get it. It's definitely shady. She lied, and that's the point, right? Is that she lied, and that I'm certain is being looked into. I mostly mean like the conspiracy crap that has no actual real life anything to it. This former liberal DOJ in Boston seeking to protect their reputation and one up Hank Brennan ran federal informants onto the John O'Keefe and Karen Reed retrial jury in order to compromise the verdict. That's just not true. That's just not true. That's just not true. Yeah, I know about his lawyer being Reddington. I read all of that. I don't just take someone's word for anything. I look into everything now. It's a lesson I learned at the beginning of this trial, is never take someone's word for anything. Even if you have two sources, you want to third source it out to someone that has nothing to do with any of those other two people and think you can get that information, And it's very concerning that she has, family members and bad actors in her family, and that she lied. I mean, she very well lied when she sat in front of the judge every day and said, I didn't hear or know anything about this. I mean, it's very clear that both her and the foreman did. That's very clear to me. I don't mean so much as like that stuff as I do what I just read, which is that's the, federal government stuffed the jury. I mean, that's just crazy. Not only is that crazy, there's like 17 different reasons why that didn't happen. You know what I mean? And also, again, from my own, I wish I could say more, but from my own ironclad information, the U.S. Attorney's Office, before the trial began, was already taken over by someone else who was utterly disgusted by Josh Levy opening it to begin with. And resulted in, by the way, everyone being cleared except Karen herself. Funny enough, the U.S. Attorney's Office did it as a favor to Karen and her dad, opening that ridiculous, thing, and then, deciding that they were going to, look into everyone. And funny enough, everyone was cleared except Karen herself. That's the kicker. That is the absolute freaking kicker. That's what drives me bonkers, It's bonkers. I mean, maybe I know Grant personally, so it's a little different, No, I'm not saying that the stuff with Paula is crazy. I'm saying that the federal government sticking informants inside the jury to tamper with Karen Reed's jury is bonkers. And I have evidence that would contradict that completely. I mean, there is zero evidence that actually happened, never mind conflicting evidence showing that that's definitely not what happened. So, I mean, I think if you're putting something out there like that, saying that this is what happened with no factual basis to it other than this juror's father-in-law was or is a federal informant, that's misinformation. You can't. You know what else made her not valid for the jury? Not being in the country for at least 6 months for residency, yet they still allowed her to. They still allowed her to. That's okay, Dougie. No problem, my friend. You let me know if you need that information for the attorney. I'll happily send it to you, my friend. There was a lot of things that made her not valid for the jury. But obviously, the people who are supposed to be doing that, which usually it gets passed off to one of the other ADAs and checking all of this stuff, Either it's skated by somehow. I mean, here's the thing. It's her father-in-law isn't her. So they're not going to say like, oh, well, your dad or your mother or your sister went to jail for X, Y, and Z, so you can't be on jury duty now. That's not the way it works. You have to have done something like that to not be. What I do think is she lied an awful lot and she did not tell them. I think she said she came back in either November or December of 2024 and got the jury notice in February of 2025. So what does that tell me? That tells me that she never told them she left the country again. And they believed that she had lived there the entire time. Otherwise, they wouldn't be sending her one in February. If she just came back in December or November, it wouldn't be 6 months. And you have to have at least 6 months out of 12 residency in the last year to be considered for jury duty. So she clearly lied about that. That's very, clear to me. And she clearly lied about, a lot of other things. But that's why some of this stuff can't just be left up to the honor system when it comes to juries anymore. Well, we know that. That's something we've been struggling with here for a long time in Massachusetts is, victims' rights and defendant having more rights than anyone else. And it hurts people. It hurts people, It hurts people. I think there are certain things that Massachusetts, doesn't do well. And this happens to be one of them. I mean, the judge is part of the problem, Oh God, I can't. Aliens, I don't know, but I agree. The Massachusetts is too lax, Yeah, I'm sorry, but listen, this is what I'll tell you, Maestro. Is I was friends with Grant for a really long time. And he does have a habit of drawing lines where they don't exist for a conspiracy. And I mean this in the most gentle way possible, but it's unhealthy at this point. It's unhealthy. And you have to think rationally. The DOJ did not stick in people into that jury to get Karen off scot-free. Did the court system itself fumble? Or did the jurors lie and there's no way to really know? I mean, the stuff about her father-in-law is bad, right? It's definitely bad, but it doesn't disqualify her as a jury if he did something. Like I said, what does disqualify her is all the other things she lied about, but you'd have to be able to prove that she lied about it beforehand. So how do you prove that they lied about it beforehand? That's the problem, is we need to stop doing this whole honor system thing. That's the thing. They don't do background checks on, your exes or your father-in-laws or your mother-in-laws or your like that. They just do it on you specifically to make sure you're fit for jury duty. The judge is definitely part of the problem. I mean, there was a huge chance that these people were going to lie to get on this jury. They saw fame, they saw fortune, they saw 5 minutes of whatever they needed to do. They saw stories they could sell. It's not hard to believe that these people lied to get onto a jury. I mean, have you seen the intelligence of some of these people? Some of the things they're saying are not only nonsensical, but any normal person with a critical thinking brain that has any skill whatsoever to understand what is and what isn't evidence. I mean, we're talking about people that asked if videos were evidence. And it sounds like it came from Paula herself, because she's the one who said, well, once we understood that videos were evidence, lady, what? Like, what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? Might be. I'd like to hear from some of the other people that thought she was guilty right away that got flipped by these other people. I mean, that's the road we're going down if we don't stop the ridiculousness, I live in a state where there are more civil attorneys than any other state. I just didn't think about a lawsuit. Listen, if you need the information, I'll be happy to pass it along to you, my friend. And that's the problem, right? Is the whole jury pool was tainted by a bunch of lunatics. And they weren't going to find many people that didn't know about this case. So what I suspect they did is take anybody who said they didn't know about it and pull them. And I suspect that those people lied and clearly knew about this case ahead of time. We clearly know from the answers of some of these jurors that absolutely they lied and knew things about the first trial, even that they wouldn't have known 24 hours or even 3 hours after a verdict doing interviews. They wouldn't have had enough time to look into all of that. So she's kind of told on herself, at least in that aspect. I found a lot of information on a lot of stuff recently, not stuff that I can publicly disclose, but she doesn't seem like a very stable individual, and I mean like mentally stable individual, unfortunately. And sad, but I feel like it's got to chill. Like it's got these people, they don't care that they hurt a family. All they cared about was hiring PR firms and not shutting up on Twitter. If you, as a juror, do your civic duty, your civic duty ends when the case ends, right? So when you then decide to go into the public eye and spew nonsensical BS that doesn't make sense and that a fourth grader could debunk, and then you're mad that you get criticized about it, that's on you. If you're a juror that decided that they can't get off X, I mean, for someone who has 4 small children at home, you seem to be on X 24/7 spewing nonsensical BS, not caring the minor children that can see it, that you're hurting. You don't care. You just want to keep running your mouth. It's like, why don't you go do something with those 4 little children that you have instead of really hurting 2 other kids that have lost 3 adults in their lives, to both their parents and then their surrogate parent. I mean, that screams attention starved, and I need attention. The videos, the tweets, the seeking out any comment that has anything to do with the case and then commenting on it, whether she's tagged or not, like that's some FKR Looney Tunes behavior. Looney Tunes behavior, you know? I can't. It just makes my brain hurt. I can't. Well, there's definitely something wrong with the way the system works, okay? It can't keep working on this whole, honors system, the honor system. It can't. It just can't work like that, Yeah, I'm fully aware. But once again, I'll tell you from the information I have, the feds did not employ tactics to get into the jury and get a not guilty verdict. That just didn't happen. It just didn't. So, I mean, I'm disappointed with the fact they didn't do a better job, but at the same time, they're only allowed to do so much. They only have the legal capacity to do so much, and that's half of the problem. Is we can't keep doing this whole like, hey, it's an honor system, did you do this, did you do this? They come in every day and go, no, we didn't see social media and we didn't see anything on the news. And it's like, did 12 people really just sit there who have phones and watch the news, say they didn't hear anything about this case and not report that they heard something about this case, and sit there and lie for 32 days? Because there's zero chance, and I said this throughout the trial, zero chance that none of these people saw or heard anything to do with this trial in 32 days and they weren't sequestered. None of them use Facebook or Instagram. Like, it's just not believable, not by a long shot. The problem is they have no capacity to be like, hey, you guys are clearly lying. What are we going to do about it? The court has no, if they just say no, then that's it. That's the end of it. And that's half the problem, Well, I mean, when you have a tampered jury, you don't exactly going to, respect a jury's decision when people lied to get onto said jury and then ratted themselves out. There's nothing to respect. Alex Murdaugh is guiltier than sin, so I don't even know why that's an example. Why would he get a new trial? You know what I mean? Maybe jump out of the cult mentality for a second. Hank didn't have a chance if this is what he was up against. If this is what he was up against, he didn't have a chance in hell. It didn't matter. Didn't matter what amazing case he put on. It didn't happen. Also, the state doesn't have the capacity to look into whether you're a federal informant or not. That's usually sealed in Fed files. So even if you were a federal informant at one point, that doesn't disqualify you from being a juror. A lot of people do it in like drug cases. A friend that made like a whole documentary, that kid I grew up with, that he moved when I was like, I don't know, 14. So long before any of this stuff happened, he moved into the city, like closer to Boston. And I guess after that had a real whirlwind life, got hooked on OCs and robbed a bunch of places, whatever. Fast forward, however many years, he ended up being like a federal informant. They moved him out to like the middle of America, gave him a new name, had him like infiltrate places and help bust big drug deals with OCs. It was insane, but he was a federal informant. Now he makes film, he makes movies, makes cinema. So, and he wouldn't be disqualified from being a juror just because he was a federal informant for that, I forget the name of it. Does anybody remember the name of it off the top of their head? But the PR firm was hired from the first juror. He hired the PR firm. Actually, he even gave Howie Carr the name of the PR firm if other people wanted an interview. So he told Howie to have those people call the PR firm. Were the case that allowed attorneys to advertise. What do you mean? Are you saying somebody hacked the jury software? Is that what you're saying? Because the jury is not picked by the court itself. You know that, right? In Massachusetts, the jury is not picked by the court itself. That's not like the letters that go out to the people who are going to come in and be a part of the jury comes from a completely separate entity. It's unfortunate, but we knew it would happen, I don't think, first of all, she would have the intelligence. Clearly, she doesn't have the intelligence for anything like that. That's very clear to me, It's very, very clear to me. That's sad because it will be prosecuted. They are going to prosecute him. They're not just going to drop it. It's not going to go away. It's not going to disappear. They're not going to be like, oh, they're not witnesses anymore, so magically his cases are going to disappear. That's not going to happen. They are prosecuting his case. So whoever the somebody is who knows people who work in Dedham Court was misinformed, because I'll tell you, they are going forward with that. They're not dropping it. Maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe so. Maybe it will take a constitutional amendment, but something has to give. It can't just be honor system anymore. It can't. It just can't. It's clearly not working. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Right? I like a Christmas pool party. Some people do like Christmas in July. I've actually never done it. I've seen like campgrounds do a whole Christmas in July thing, but I've never seen it. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But it's not the corruption I meant that everyone else was screaming about, right? It wasn't the conspiracy that everyone else was screaming about, Well, that's the thing. The only thing that disqualifies you from a jury, realistically, is even, and here's the kicker, even if you have a felony, which is supposed to be disqualifying, it actually doesn't just disqualify you in Massachusetts. They actually will go, okay, you're a felon, cool. We want you on the jury. So things that you would think should be automatic disqualifiers are not actually automatic disqualifiers. It's also used by discretion. The Hank and the defense had to pick the jury. So when it boils down to it, both parties had to agree on these jurors, or they could use strikes to get rid of them. But when the deck is stacked with lunatics that believe ridiculous conspiracy theories that could have never happened, then you're kind of doomed to begin with. They didn't put a gag order. They didn't sequester the jury, which is the whole reason sequestration exists for juries. Massachusetts does not like to do it. I can't even remember the last time they did sequester a jury. You know, she absolutely paid for her freedom, and she was helped. She was helped, that's for sure. You know, I'm just not. I'm not buying that they were plants. Were they plants in the aspect of bought and paid for conspiracy theorists of FKR that lied their way onto a jury? Abso-freaking-lutely. Plants by the federal government? No. Absolutely not. And I know that because I have other information that other people don't have. That's how I know that. You know, karma takes too long sometimes, in my opinion. Instant karma is the best kind, but still, you know? Listen, I can tell you from the information that I have that the federal government didn't infiltrate the jury. They didn't put people on the jury to make a not guilty verdict happen. What happened is unfortunate, but bad actors lied their way onto the jury and got there. That's ultimately what happened. And when you have a city full or a state full of people who will believe the conspiracy theories that they're being fed, this is what happens. When you don't sequester a jury, this is what happens. When you allow lawyers to run your courtroom like the judge did, and you have no authority over your own courtroom, then those lawyers are going to keep doing bad things because they know you're not going to do a damn thing about it. Realistically, these are the consequences of that, you know? Definitely the way they talk is odd. That's all free Karen Reed talking points. I understand it, but the federal government didn't insert jurors to get a not guilty verdict here. Were the jury tainted? Yes. Clearly, did they lie to get on the jury? Abso-freaking-lutely. 100%. Absolutely. Did the federal government stick people onto Karen Reed's jury to find a not guilty? No. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. Well, there could be, you know, the sewer turtle's having a bit of a meltdown because the team won't talk to him. It's very plausible that eventually he'll snap. Could charge her witness intimidation. Do I think they will? No. Could they? Yes. You know, it's insane. He does not have a photographic memory. That guy does not have okay. The most ridiculous thing I heard was that guy had a photographic memory. I'm like, it's very clear the guy does not have a photographic memory. PR means like public relations, which is like, you ever heard the term PR stunt, which means something made up to make people talk about it? Buzzworthy news cycle. PR companies do like crisis management or like pushing you via stories in some way so that you're asked to do interviews. Who file her income tax? No idea. No clue. I don't know who you mean, but I don't know. It's just not a thing. It's not a thing. Well, that's the other thing, right? You have to know that some of these people right, had to be afraid. Oh, I 100% think they were compromised. 100% think they were compromised, but not compromised in some grand federal government conspiracy. That's just not the case. Compromised where they were bought and paid for, and probably, I imagine, some of them bullied in that jury room. Like, oh, that mob outside, that, they could dox, harass, intimidate. It's what they've been doing this entire time. There were jurors in that room that knew exactly what the hell they were doing. That's very, very clear. Okay? That's very clear. But the federal government didn't go in and pick over 500, 600, 700 people came in, and the jury has to be picked. So between the defense and the prosecution, it's not just one team or the other. They have to be picked together. There's a whole process for that, but I do believe that some of these people were probably afraid to vote guilty. I have no doubt in my mind that the jurors that wanted the not guilty sort of bullied them into it, because the elements of the crimes were met pretty easily, laid out like a fifth grader. And what they keep talking about that they considered are nonsensical conspiracy theories with not an ounce of evidence or truth to them at all. What you don't hear the jurors saying are anything about the actual evidence that shows, like, why are you saying he's in the house if the phone never leaves where the flagpole area is? How'd he get in there? But his phone doesn't. They don't. That's how critical thinking works, okay? It's very clear that they didn't think through any of that. So all those days they spent deliberating clearly weren't spent deliberating on the evidence. It was spent going down conspiracy theories. Listen, I don't smoke weed, but it's just, it didn't happen. That's not a thing. No, PR as in public relations. So the picks come from the commissioner. The commissioner is the one who gets together all of the information and sends out the jury forms to the people who are going to be picked for jury duty based on a couple of different things. They can pick out people in specific areas. They can pick out people with specific jobs, things of that nature. They can push all that into a computer, and the computer spits out, a bunch of names, and then you can push the button and it'll send, the letters out to however many people you're asking it to in that county, Oh yeah, I was like one of those people, like, don't think, do it later. Thank you, Ellen, for becoming a member, my friend. Are you melting, freak? You're melting? Oh, me? Oh, I do that. Hold on. I actually haven't, I promise you that didn't happen. I promise you it didn't. Oh, thank you, Ellen. Ellen sends $20 and she says, love you, my friend. Love you. I appreciate you. I promise you, the federal government did not plant people into that jury. I promise you that didn't happen. I know people want to think that it happened and can draw lines that if you're looking for them, you can say this is creepy and this is, but that it didn't happen. It did not happen. Can't tell you how I know that, but that did not happen. Oh God, again, I agree with you, Lisa. It does take too long sometimes. It absolutely 100% takes too long in some instances. And it's like, hello. We all do, right? We all do. Yeah, see, here's the thing. The people that I know, at least, are honest people who don't do that stuff. We knew something about that case, we'd have to say we did, because that's how it works in an honest system. I would have never attempted to get on that jury and lie my way onto a jury, because if you get found out, guess what? You can be charged with obstruction of justice, perjury, a bunch of different things. Absolutely. Anybody I talked to about this was like, I hope that they don't call me for jury duty, because it's just going to waste my time. I have to go in there, say I obviously know about the case, and spend an entire day or two there waiting so they can ultimately just dismiss me. Not one single person that I talked to was like, yep, I'm going to lie my way onto that jury for sure. Most of us believe in this thing called fairness, where you don't lie to get onto a jury. Just saying. Yeah, well, she was hired, and it's funny that she was even hired to begin with because she was an alternate juror in the first trial. So she was hired to help pick the jury anyway. Again, I'm not saying that they weren't compromised. They were clearly compromised in a way. But the federal government did not stick people into the jury to cause a not guilty verdict. That didn't happen. What did happen is Karen Read bought her freedom with a PR machine made of mouthpieces that completely wiped out entire jury pool and tainted it 100%. You know? That's the sad part, Lisa. Yeah, oh, she did stuff all right, but she acts like nobody knows that she has all these fake accounts where she defamed and libel and criminal harassment. So you're going to stay with someone forever because they're blackmailing you? I mean, that speaks volumes. I mean, that's bad. Well, once again, straight out of the playbook of the sewer turtle, which is blackmail the girl you're with so she stays with you because she's afraid you're going to let out all her secrets. Does that sound familiar to anyone? Oh, wait, that's what he did to Lindsay. Oh, crap. Hold on. Again, he's done it to almost every woman who has ever come across him. You know? Yeah, I think it was if I'm right, I believe it was the foreman that someone claimed had a photographic memory. Yeah, exactly. End of May, which was when she was calling you, right? Like, insane. Insane. Absolutely nutty, if you ask me. Absolutely nutty. I mean, doxing is not like, it's not like, I don't know why anyone thinks it's like a fun thing to do. Why? For what reason? You know, for what reason? To dox. I mean, it's one thing to, if someone's already publicly known, like, and be like, hey, so-and-so, please stop posting pictures of my minor children. That's one thing. But to literally go and find someone's whole identity and get online and be like, so-and-so is this person who lives in this place and this is their phone number. Like, that's doxing. That is something that I do not agree with and that I have never involved myself in because I think it's horrible. I have dealt with it myself. I have been part of a harassment campaign from these people for a very long time. Not at a courthouse making a mockery out of a murder trial. That's why. I don't know why it's something that, like, we need to be at the courthouse making a mockery out of a murder trial to show support. I mean, that's just an utterly ridiculous assertion that you would assert that we have to be at the courthouse to give support. It's utterly ridiculous. So it wouldn't be all the content creators because I myself am a content creator. And many victims can tell you that I've had plenty of victims of all sorts of things come to me, and never once have there's plenty of people on the FKR side I could have exposed for a lot of things way back when. I don't do that kind of shit. It serves absolutely no purpose other than to be angry and vengeful. And you know what? Those people are going to show their true colors anyway. So I don't need to go and dig into what I have that they sent me and put it out there. They're going to show the world who they are anyway. It is what it is. You know, we weren't encouraging people to go out there and make a mockery of someone's murder trial. You know, it's not a thing. Hey, Ski. I would not say all of them dox. I would not say that. I have never doxed anybody, nor would I. Yeah, it looks like they didn't look at any of the evidence. It's that's what it sounds like from what they're saying, you know? That's what it sounds like. Right. In worst case scenario, he found out who they were and they were afraid. You know? Right, exactly. Murder. Most people don't tailgate you know, a murder trial. Yes, exactly. They were compromised, but in different ways, you know, and probably more than one. Oh, is that what it says? You remember for a month? I don't know. It just popped up like boop. Oh, yes. Member for 1 month. That's what it says. My bad. Easily scanned that. My bad. That was my bad. No, I don't show his. I refuse to give him any airtime whatsoever to anything. I refuse to give him air. Not here. Not on my channel. You know. Well, they knew it. They absolutely freaking knew it. 100% they knew it. I get it. I just don't agree with it. You know what I mean? I just don't agree with it. Alex Murdaugh had a trial. And if you had 17 more, he would still be found guilty. The foreman has a PR firm that is representing him. I mean, I don't know why, like, this is like public information now. This isn't like private information. This is totally public information at this moment. It's a very real possibility. Usually he sends other people to do his dirty work. So as we know, it's usually middle-aged women that are not all there, you know? Oh, thank you, Holly. I appreciate you, my friend. Right, exactly. This is a murder trial. You know what I mean? Like it's insane to me. I mean, I get it. The jury, it's impossible until we hear from some of the other jurors. I really would like to hear from some of the jurors that thought that she was, that went in that room, had listened to all the evidence throughout that entire trial and thought, yeah, I think she's guilty. I would like to hear from them because I'd like to hear what led them to vote not guilty. Was it people mentioning that mob? You know, I have no problem, you know, like doing a voice change, completely blacking out their face, like just doing a voice and a voice change if they want, or even just speaking with them privately. But I really would like to know if any of them, you know, feel like they were bullied into a not guilty verdict by some of these other jurors. Of course, we would never give their, you know, names or anything like that because they would just be harassed into oblivion. But I would love to hear from one of them to see what they have to say, you know? Oh, yeah, she does that. She's a middle-aged wackadoo that just criminally harasses a bunch of people who she doesn't even actually know as one of Aiden's, like, mouthpieces, which is so funny. I mean, I don't know how her boyfriend or husband puts up with that kind of behavior 24/7. I mean, it's literally stage 5 clinger stalker status shit. I mean, it's nutty. It should be. I agree with you. Oh, the witch trials. Those are some of the worst that humanity has given, you know? Yeah, that's the judge has a big part to do with why so many shenanigans were allowed, you know? That it should be like mandatory to sequester a jury in a high profile case. At the very least, gag order everyone at the beginning of all of it. That's what they did with the Kohberger case. And of course, we still have a little bit of information, but most of it, we won't find out until trial unless you have personal or inside information. Most of it, you're not going to find out until trial. And that's the way to do it because that way, the PR machines on the outside don't have much to go with. All right. That doesn't surprise me. That one loves to dox people, you know? It's amazing to me. NBC 10 doxed you? What in the actual F is wrong with these people? What? I mean, that's insane to me. Absolutely nutty. Like, why go through all of that trouble to dox people and harass them? I never understood it and I never will because I've never participated in that kind of behavior. I'm a grown ass adult. I just don't bother with people who choose to remain anonymous but sit there and talk shit. If I have something to say, I'm going to say it from my own accounts because I want people to know it's coming from me. I don't need to be anonymous. I'm not afraid of anyone. So there's that. These people that they keep bullying into silence, and some people watching this right now know exactly what I mean. They have been bullied. They have been blackmailed. They have been threatened by the sewer turtle and his minions into silence or staying quiet about certain things or not going to the police about crimes that are being committed against them, like harassment, like blackmail, like cyber stalking or criminal harassment. I mean, these are things that never stopped happening, never stopped. And yet we have people still committing these crimes. Still, what is being done to put an end to it? They can do all of that to me and then some. They already have since 2023. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going to shut up. I am not going to allow bullies to bully. I'm not going to allow them to win. And I damn well will not allow them to silence me, no matter how hard they try. You know, that's really sad. That's so sad, considering the only thing that they would have had to go on is the completely debunked 2:27 a.m. Google search. Just nutty to me that anybody would even take the time to do that. You know, I'm ashamed that NBC 10, but again, a lot of these mainstream media places have chosen to do a lot of this crap, and I don't agree with it. It's utterly disgraceful and disgusting, and I don't really understand. You know, it seems to me that a lot of these mainstream media people and channels, you know, they're running out of things to talk about to the trial. So now you want to talk about the family and the witnesses and how they were victimized. You guys knew for 3 years that they were being harassed and said nothing. You stayed quiet. Every one of the mainstream media knew exactly what the hell was going on and said nothing about any of it. Now you want to say something about it? Shame on you. Shame on you. I will never trust mainstream media again after what I know from this case. The public stuff I know and the private stuff I know. It's utterly disgusting and unexcusable in every way. I have no faith in journalistic integrity anymore in this country. I'm sorry, I just don't. Things that should be reported on are completely ignored for ratings or friendships or I'm sorry. But they ignored it completely. Doesn't it make you sick that we live here, Allie? At this point, it makes me sick. You know? That's something seriously wrong. Like something seriously wrong. You know? These reporters aren't reporters. They're PR machines themselves. Told to do what their boss tells them to do. Killing stories they don't like or they don't want to talk about. Happy birthday, Christina. I see you down there in the comments. Happy birthday, my friend. It's Christina's birthday, everybody. Everybody say happy birthday to Christina. We want her to have a fantastic, wonderful, amazing birthday. Yeah, that's the thing. There's someone in that room. There's someone who was in that deliberation room that doesn't agree with that. It not only was it stupid, in my opinion, it was like completely a no-brainer to say I can't have somebody like that in my court during a trial where he's already charged with harassing people and trying to silence people, including witnesses. In this case, no other judge would have allowed him to sit there. You can scream First Amendment all you want. It's not First Amendment to try to intimidate witnesses. And his presence enough would have been intimidating enough to some other people to lie or remain quiet. So it was a big boo-boo by the judge to even allow it in both trials. You know? That's really sad that they did that. I am so sorry, Allie. That's awful. You know? That's the thing is they terrified so many people. You have no idea the amount of, you know, messages that I get from people who won't speak up publicly, but privately either change their minds on this case and realize she was guilty after some of the things that she herself said, or when they realized that they were gaslit by other FKR members. that they will never say anything publicly that they changed their mind because they're too afraid of the harassment. And it's sad. Nobody should feel like that. I love history. To be fair, I'm a nerd and has anybody ever watched Drunk History? I used to love that show. Interesting, but drunk people telling the story is even more funny. But I'm a bookworm. I used just to sit and read so much history of different things. It was kind of cool. Yeah, that's a good question. How would they know what you looked like unless they looked into you? That's weird. Oh yeah, that's definitely considered doxing. Calling jobs and talking shit. I mean, talking shit among each other is not technically doxing, but calling your job, that's calling your job and saying that's a bad person, fire them. Yeah. It depends. If you're a police officer though, and then or a teacher, and you're getting online and you're saying like racist, like really deplorable shit, and I find out you're a teacher in my niece or nephew's district, I wouldn't want you teaching my child. If that's the way that you think you can talk in public, what do you do in private with just kids? I'd be concerned. Thankfully, I've never come across that problem, but I know other people who have. And it's their choice whether they decide to call that school and say, I would like to draw your attention to this person's behavior. But most people that I come across are dealing with their jobs being called for no reason. Not because they said something racist or something awful, but simply because they said, I think Karen is guilty. That's it. I agree, you know? Well, exactly. Who did it? And not like ridiculous, answers like, oh, well, it must be the people in the house, as there's not a single shred of evidence to that at all. As a matter of fact, the evidence is to the contrary of that. And I want to ask them, then who backed the car up at 24 miles an hour? Because Karen's not saying she didn't. Her team is not saying she didn't. Why? Because they can't say she didn't, because she did, and it's in the data. So John's phone just magically stopped moving forever when she backed her car up at 24 miles an hour? Sure, got it, sure. you know? Well, we definitely do have that. Well, that's the thing. I don't want anybody, promoting false misconceptions, because then again, it gets a life of its own. Oh, they won't. They literally won't. They will not. They will not go on this channel. There's a reason, There's a reason. Yes, happy birthday, my friend. I always keep my head on a swivel. It's probably the best advice I ever got when I first worked in the prison, which was keep your head on a swivel at all times, I 100% agree that he should have never been allowed in the courtroom. I mean, it would be interesting to hear. I mean, you probably know the answer to this, Lisa. There's two Lisas here, but this Lisa. A lot of people tell me like where, the sewer turtle was not a great human being before this. We know he was a shitty person before this, but he got even shittier when this case came around. And actually a lot of people like personally said to him, like, you don't think you're being used by Karen? Because it looks like you might be being played for a fool by Karen. And he used to get pissed at anybody who would say he wouldn't answer the question. He would just have a flip out session and scream and yell and say, you don't tell me, I tell you, blah, blah, blah. Do you know who I am? Do you know what I can do to you? His famous lines are, I already let you take a pass on that one. I'm going to make you Turtle Boy famous. Do you even know what I can do to you? Those are his like famous, threatening phrases that he uses to every one of his victims. When most of his blackmail threatening phrases, it's because you've seen a lot of it from his victims, and it's disgusting, but it's the same pattern and the same verbiage and the same way he talks over and over and over to person after person after person. Thank God for that, Holly. As we saw in the Kohberger case, the judge said no to the third-party nonsensical bullshit in the Kohberger case. Thank God. And it seems to me as if this judge in the Kohberger case is not going to deal and is with the nonsensical BS that happened in the Karen Read case. And I see history itself repeating itself when it comes to these two cases, because I see a lot of things that Ann Taylor is trying to do that were done in Karen's case, although the judge is doing a pretty good job of slapping them down before any harm can be done. I freaking loved that show. I mean, I did see it. I don't know if it was Max or something, but I thought that they don't still produce it. I thought they did, or maybe it was I just saw like a bunch of. I saw it the other day on one of the streaming platforms, and I was like, "Ooh, it had like 10 seasons or something like that." And I was like, "Did they make that many seasons?" Was it good? It was a good show, you know. Oh yeah, every place has cameras, you know. I mean, they think it's going to do a lot. Most of the time it does nothing. What are you going to do? Call their, at one point, these people, okay, I kid you not when I say this, all right? You guys are going to be like, what? I kid you not when I say these people have gone to the lengths of actually ordering healthcare cards and making up pretend babies for people and ordering healthcare cards for pretend babies and changing your own last name on your healthcare information and on your healthcare cards and having it sent to your house. So that means a nurse or someone who works in the medical field is actually going into someone's information illegally, which by the way can be tracked. So they're awfully dumb. You can get an accounting of anybody who's going through your medical record and to see who's in it and why they would be in it at all. And so those people are going to lose their jobs. Really stupid of them to do that. Like, it's real funny to make up fake babies and send people, fake healthcare cards and sign them up for public benefits of fake babies. Like, you have to be a real sick human being or middle-aged woman, because that's who's doing it, in my opinion. Some really sick middle-aged women with no sense of right or wrong, just deranged, angry, really insecure women that think it's okay to do this kind of shit. That's disgusting. But this is the stuff that these people do on like a daily basis. Spend hours calling an insurance company, telling them it's your sister or your mother and you just had a baby and you're like in a coma or something, so you can't speak, but they need to get you a new health card for your brand new baby that doesn't exist, that you didn't have, and change your last name as well. No idea why the healthcare companies are allowing anyone to change anything without speaking to that specific person. Oh my God, it was such a good show. You have to look it up. You would love it. Drunk History. That's what it's called. Drunk History. It's just gross. It's like, who does this? For what? To say, oh, Christina thinks that she's guilty, so she's bad? Like, what? Like, what? It's just insane to me. Yeah, the lawn signs, all the nonsensical BS. Like, dude, she's been free the entire time, you weirdos. Okay, Zap, let me let you in on a little secret here. Ready? Broken bones does not equal having to have been not hit by a car or even being hit by a car. Whether you have a broken bone or not does not equal, oh my God, that person was not hit by a car because they don't have a broken bone. I mean, anybody who correlates those two things as, oh, well, the x-ray shows no broken bones, so clearly he wasn't hit by a car. What? Come again? There are people who get hit at higher speeds that walk away without a scratch, without a freaking scratch, without a bruise, a scratch, anything. They get up and they walk away perfectly fine. And there are people who get hit at lower speeds whose bodies are completely mangled. They have broken bones. They have skull fractures. They have road rash. Every accident is different. Every single one is different. I recently saw one with a 7-year-old little girl running across the street with her friends, gets hit by a car, gets friggin' thrown right next to another car near the sidewalk on the ground, concrete ground, gets up, walks away, does an interview with her mom the next day for the news without a scratch on her. There was another guy hit that he flies, tumbles down this like embankment thing. He goes over a railing, tumbles down this embankment, gets up. Reportedly no scratch, no nothing. Totally fine. So if you equate having an x-ray mean that he didn't get hit by a car, then, I mean, come on. Stop it. Please, for the love of God. It's half the problem, Holly. It's half the problem. It's half of the freaking problem. You know? It's half of the problem. It's really not important, though. It's not, because it doesn't prove or disprove anything. I think it shows that there's no broken bones. That doesn't prove whether he was or wasn't hit by a car. There are people who get up, walk away without a single scratch on them. Watch. Let's see. Let's see this one. So this one, car flips over 12 times. Car flips 12 times, and driver gets out, walks away. Perfectly fine. Like, what in the actual hell? There's so many of these that I have seen. This one, a police officer gets hit and flies through the air like literal Superman and gets really hurt. This one sends another person flying through the air. They're graphic, so I'm not going to show them. After being hit by a tire, flips his car, walks away without a scratch or a bruise. This person gets hit by the front of a car, ends up under the car. Thankfully, doesn't get run over by the tires, but under the car nonetheless, and walks away with nothing, not even road rash. So, so let's go back to the plane crash, right? That guy in seat 11A. By your theory, that guy should be dead, right? It's a miracle the guy survived, but it's got to have an explanation, right? I mean, everyone else died. He's the only lone survivor. You're not going to always get the answer to every single thing. Nobody knows why or exactly where he was on the road, where exactly, what position his body was in when he was hit. But two things are very clear to me. John O'Keefe was hit by that car, and Karen backed it up at 24 miles per hour, angry and drunk. That's what the evidence shows. Nobody beats up somebody only on one side of their body. Also, none of his injuries are consistent with being beat up at all. None. Zero. That's another thing. Why plot? Why have to plot to get people on a jury if she's, quote, factually innocent? Why? The fact that anybody ever said factually innocent is amazing to me. Exactly, Maestro. There are only trends. There's no such thing as, this is what happens when someone gets hit by a car. No such thing, because there's no way to know what position the body was in, whether it was moving or whether you were stopped. There are factors in having to determine X, Y, and Z. When you don't have those factors, you cannot determine X, Y, and Z. Every car accident is different. You're hit by the front of the car versus the back of the car. Very different. Very freaking different. Oh, you're telling me you didn't see any of that behavior all over social media at all? I mean, we all saw it. We all saw it. Oh, I saw that one too. I saw that one. Yep. He literally gets right back up. A lot of the times the shoe flies off. That's the other thing. standard in pedestrian accidents is someone losing something like a shoe, a hat, an earring, something that gets knocked off of them that's on them. You know? Well, that's the thing is you can't just make assumptions. You have to go with the data that you have and make the best guess that you can. But without specifics, there's no way to actually know, you know? If you didn't see it, yeah, you weren't paying attention because it was everywhere, literally everywhere. And it was deplorable and disgusting. Do I think he'll turn on Karen Reed? Eventually I do. Yes. Yes, I do. I think he will blow it to smithereens. What will be done about it? Probably not much other than him trying to get something out of a deal for himself that won't end up working out. But hey, I mean, he could keep trying, I guess. I guess. It's sad, but it is what it is. No, see, that's the difference. Reasonable doubt is not just any doubt. And we can determine the cause of death. That we can. Karen's car backed up at 24 miles an hour, and just seconds later, John's phone stops moving forever in the place that he is later then found with the phone in his back pocket. Okay. His phone temperature battery going down that entire time until he is found after 6 when that phone temperature battery goes back up. There is dirt and grass underneath him, not snow. Could not have been put out there hours later because there would be snow underneath him, not dirt. So we do know there's a ton of different ways and evidence to show how and why he was hit by the car. Okay. There are taillight fragments in the man's shirt. All right. Come on. It's not really rocket science to figure out that he clearly was hit by that vehicle. You think it's a coinky dink that she backed the car up at 24 miles an hour? Or are you going to try to tell me next that she didn't back that car up at 24 miles an hour? Because she doesn't even dispute that. Her team doesn't even dispute that. Why? Because it's in the data. The data doesn't lie. She backed that car up at 24 miles an hour at John. I don't give a shit if you want to argue that he tripped and fell because she backed it up. She backed it up recklessly while drinking. That meets manslaughter. It's not hard to figure out that she backed that car up and she killed John. There is evidence to show that. So that's not reasonable doubt because there's pieces of evidence showing us what happened. There's a timeline. That timeline doesn't leave for, I mean, you guys were told for 2 years it was Michael Proctor, remember? But you don't have to prove it hit him. Or then what you're saying is every case would need a video evidence of it happening, or that's reasonable doubt. That's not the way it works. Far more circumstantial cases are convicted every single day in America. You do not need a smoking gun in a video to say that happened. There's no reasonable doubt. That's not the way it works. To imply that is ridiculous and absurd. They are supposed to. What do you mean? Of course they are. They're given the evidence. They're supposed to figure out if it fits. The evidence fits the theory. Yeah, of course they are. That's their job, to deliberate with the evidence. That's kind of the point of a jury. Yeah. Glass. She said she pulled glass out of his nose, which is impossible. It's impossible that she pulled glass out of his nose at 6 in the morning because Kerry was the one who did CPR and uncovered his face. So that means one of two things. She got out of her car after she hit him and pulled it out, or she went back at some point and pulled it out, or she never pulled glass out of his face at all. Those are the only options. So interesting. Exactly. They didn't have video of Murdoch shooting his wife, but there was a ton of evidence. A ton of it. Everybody in America who gets a new phone and gets rid of their old one. That's who. My brother works in tech, and I have always been taught that if I have anything like a camera that I'm getting rid of, a phone, to take the SIM card and cut it in half. That way, if somebody who's dumpster diving gets my phone, they cannot get personal information that is saved inside of that phone. Because tech people do that kind of stuff. I've been always taught to separate the SIM from the phone to get rid of it that way and to cut the SIM card. Because otherwise, if you don't and they find the SIM card and it's near where the phone is, they may be able to get personal data that's in your phone if you're trashing it. My brother taught me that since I was, God, just a young adult. My brother's been working in tech for a long time. No, he didn't lie about his alibi. Again, where on earth did you, again, this is what happens when you get spread misinformation. That's what happens. He was not caught lying about his alibi. That didn't, oh, are you talking about Murdoch? I thought you were talking about Higgins. I'm like, what? That didn't happen. What are you talking about? I mean, he was also this thing called guilty. But your argument was basically they need a smoking gun. That's not true. That's not the way it works. The jury is supposed to take the evidence given to them and weigh it. Clearly, they did not do that in this case. That's very clear to anybody who's listening to any of these jurors say anything. It's very clear that they didn't even understand the data, never mind look at it. I think Morrissey's statement was probably more in hindsight to get people to stop harassing the witnesses in a murder trial. It wasn't a great idea, but at the same time, I understand probably, and I have no love lost for that man. Let's make something very clear. I am not a fan of Michael Morrissey, nor will I ever be a fan of Michael Morrissey, but I can understand why he did what he did, because at that point, they were getting some pretty death threat, pretty horrific shit that I later then had to deal with myself. And still deal with from some of these lunatics. Like, the case is over, yet they still harass my life and stalk me. It's like, do you have a life at all? I mean, do you have things to do other than that? Maybe. I don't know. You know, come on. No, he would not have gotten off. Too much circumstantial evidence to tie him to the crime. No chance he would have got off. None. None at all. You don't have to have a smoking gun to prove someone's guilt. As a matter of fact, in 9 out of 10 cases, there's no smoking gun. And again, yeah, even if there was a video of her doing it, they would say, that's AI, it's made up. They would move the goalpost. The goalpost would be moved to, well, that's not real. It's tainted evidence. Proctor touched it, so it's altered. That would be the narrative. Even if it was shown on tape on a neighbor's Ring camera that she did do it, the goalpost would just be moved. Mike Morrissey didn't say that. And you can't say both sides were doing it, because that's the only statement that the prosecutor's office or the DA's office ever made about it. And that was way after they were being harassed into oblivion. You're right. The law is clearly laid out, which the jurors in this case didn't follow. It's really simple. Any doubt is not reasonable doubt. It's not the way reasonable doubt works. You can't just be like, oh, well, it's reasonable doubt because I don't like Michael Proctor. Okay. You guys were told for 2 years that Michael Proctor was the one who planted taillight. Problem with that is Michael Proctor was never at Fairview that night, or that day. So how did the taillight get there unless he jumped in his, time machine and got all over there? Why didn't Hank do a rebuttal? Well, because clearly it looked like the jury was already antsy. And so if you're a prosecutor and the jury is already antsy, if you keep them there longer, it could be held against you. That's why he didn't do a rebuttal. It's the same reason why I wouldn't have done a rebuttal at that point. Too much time. They're already getting antsy. If you can clearly see that they're already antsy, you holding them there can then in turn them be pissed off at you for holding them there longer. They clearly were done. And the judge made that very clear. So I mean, it's a possibility. Even so, he's guilty. It was a news outlet that reported that there was a video, and they retracted it later. That was early on. That was like in the first couple days of it happening, and a news reporter, a news station in Massachusetts, here in Massachusetts, had reported that there was a video, which there wasn't. So then they later, of course, realized that that didn't exist and retracted that statement. Mike Morrissey never said that there was a video. That didn't happen. Understand? Oh no, she understands, darling. She understands. She just doesn't care. Absolutely not. I'm sorry, but no. Just no. The prosecution, again, the DA's office made one statement after people being relentlessly harassed and death threats. You have a man daily spreading conspiracy theories and lies nonetheless. Remember the taillight that was underneath the snow that you guys were told was on top of the snow? Yeah, that. Oh, you were told that there was snow underneath John when in reality it was ground. You were told a lot of things that he just stopped talking about when that was debunked. But all those lies were being fed to people for an extremely long period of time. So by the time the DA said, hey, enough is enough, these people had been harassed into oblivion. All right. The state's one statement versus the years of false conspiracy theories don't equate. Those things do not equal. You can't say, oh, the prosecution did it too. They made one statement because their witnesses were being harassed with ridiculous conspiracy theories that they knew weren't true. I mean, you can't blame them for making a statement saying, listen, you're harassing witnesses. Like, you can't do that. Exactly. Well, in their logic, Kohberger would be innocent, and there's not enough evidence by their logic. It's reasonable doubt. Come on. Some of them will, but most of them will not. And he'll have to threaten people. Get down to the courthouse right now. We need your support. That's what's going to happen. I mean, he knows that. Once all of the, false conspiracies were being spread, yeah, that's what happened. Unfortunately, at that point, they were tainted. And when you're willing to lie to get onto a jury, that's really sad. Oh, that's if you can bet you're behind, if those autopsy photos were released and got leaked, that's what we would be hearing from them. Again, moving the goalpost. Sad, but true nonetheless. Why? It shouldn't even be a question of what is or isn't when you have pieces of evidence sitting directly in front of you, showing you what's going on. It's really sad to me that his family and the witnesses didn't get what they deserved for justice for John and for all of the shit that they have left to deal with. They have to then deal with civil cases and some of these absolutely Looney Tunes people. It's really sad. And it's not right. I can only imagine that John's up there, looking down on everyone, being like, damn, this is not what he meant by it's a movie. This is not what his headstone means, And victims and cases, they deserve better, which is exactly was my point of last night's show, which are these people had lives. They were very real people with very real lives and very real loved ones. And, we hear them as names of cases that, we're interested in or we want to watch, which is fine. It's all good and well. But we also need to know that at some point, It's our job to make sure that we're not spreading misinformation out there, because that can affect a trial. It can affect a jury pool. And we never want to be a part of affecting a jury pool in any case. It's not acceptable. If your goal is to taint a jury pool, then you're not doing it for the right reasons. And when people openly express that they're only doing it to taint a jury pool, that's a huge problem. And that is what we saw in Karen's case. We had numerous people openly admit on video that they were just doing it to taint the jury pool. And it worked, unfortunately. Sadly and unfortunately, it worked. I hope it never happens again. But if that's going to be the case, then our laws need to catch up. Our laws need to change so that this can't happen again, you know? Oh, that's another thing. The fact that they were considering things that were stricken from the record, which means disregard. She literally has said it about 1 million times. Jurors, when something is struck from the record, you are to disregard it. And they didn't. I don't know how you could even use that as an excuse to defend those jurors. You're actively admitting to taking things that were struck from the record and saying, well, I considered that, which you're not supposed to do. That's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. Most people, if they do take it in consideration, they don't actually say out loud that they took it in consideration, knowing that when it's struck from the record, you're not supposed to. This lady just didn't care. She was like, oh yeah, I considered it, even though the judge said not to. Like, what in the actual hell is wrong with your brain? You know, it does. It undermines the entire judicial system. And Joan is right. They should have been. I mean, how long did I scream, sequester the jury? First trial, second trial. Sequester the fucking jury. These high profile cases, I don't care which case it is, any high profile cases need to have the jury sequestered. It has to happen. It has to. Otherwise, this is what happens. And you know what else undermines the judicial system? When you have a lunatic willing to go out and harass people and blackmail people into silence or into lying for him. That's a huge problem. We're talking about someone who continuously has done this over and over and over and over, and it doesn't matter who it's to, right? People he just doesn't like anymore, people who said something that pissed him off, people he was jealous of, or just girlfriends, because, I mean, if they leave him, they can tell on him, and he can't have that, or hookups. He can't have that. So instead, he's got to blackmail them into silence. He's got to threaten them. Or he's got to have his lackeys also do it, because it gets the message across that you don't say anything, or my lackeys here, my mentally unwell, middle-aged women and men, will run around harassing you on social media and sending their psychopathic people to your home if you don't do what I ask you to do. That is literally... okay, undermining the judicial system and saying, oh, I didn't tell them to do it, while using dog whistles publicly is not a defense. It's just not a defense. It just isn't, you know, it just is not, because it wasn't brought into evidence. Like, what? Clearly they didn't understand. Oh, that's it. Himself and himself only. The faster people realize that, you know, I'm waiting for half of the followers that he has to realize, once his trial comes and they start to get some of the text messages that have come out of his phone, when they start to realize that the entirety of this time he was making fun of them, telling them, talking privately, telling people how ugly and stupid they were, how they would just keep throwing money at him no matter what he said or what he did, that they would believe anything he said and anything he did. The amount of things that he has said about his own followers is deplorable. It's disgusting. It shows no real care to the people that spend their time watching, viewing, or donating to him at all. And it's because he doesn't have a care for any of you. He doesn't give a shit about any of you. He cares about himself and himself only. Even his children are just ploys. When he wants to ensue some sort of sympathy, he'll say, oh, my kids watched me get arrested, when in reality, that never happened. His kids were gone on the school bus. They did not see anything. But when he wants to, garner sympathy, he'll use his children. If you heard some of the things that he says or has said about his own daughter, you'd be disgusted. And then it would make more sense why he's an egomaniac and why he's manipulative, why he's a narcissist, and why he's a sexist pig. He doesn't care for women at all. He's clearly got some issues with women. Oh, we know. She's not very good at hiding that it's her at all. Not even a little bit. And also, him himself likes to tell people which accounts are hers, and then those people then speak to other people who then speak to other people, and it gets back. So we know most of the alt accounts that are hers anyway. She's not good at hiding it, and her own boyfriend rats her out. So I don't know why you would stay with someone that's always cheating on you and treats you like shit. That doesn't make sense to me. But I'll tell you this, nobody's going to feel bad for her. When ultimately the shit hits the fan, no one's going to feel bad. No one. Because nobody else decided they were going to go after all the people that he didn't like in the way that she has, by defaming people and saying some of the most vile, disgusting things just to like get a pat on the head. Like, good job. No one's going to feel bad for that. It's deplorable behavior for a grown-ass adult. It's disgusting. She's dumb for staying, and eventually she'll realize that when he does it again and again and again and again and again, as he did to his wife for many years. Bingo. 11:30 tomorrow morning, because tomorrow's Sunday. Again, karma, sometimes it might take a long time, but I do believe that karma will come, I do. I really do. He said he can't dump her because she'll put him in jail. Gee, I wonder why that is. Maybe all the criminal behavior. Also, what's funny about it is both of them have committed crimes in front of one another, so they can both rat each other out. So you're just going to stay with each other until the end of time, because that'll change anything, right? That'll change anything whatsoever. Does she really think that that's going to change anything? Because the second that he even suspects that he doesn't want to deal with her anymore, he'll turn on her like a bad habit. Throw her right under the bus. I don't know what she hasn't realized yet about he has no loyalty to anybody but himself. Literally. This is why you see him whining and pandering about not getting interviews. It's because nobody wants to be anywhere near him or go anywhere near him or be associated with him in any way, shape, or form. Anybody who's semi-normal sees the red flags from real far away. It will be glorious, and we all saw it coming from a mile away. It's like, I don't know why you don't just, cut and fade at this point. If I'm her, I'm not dealing with that. I'm out of that relationship. Why wouldn't you leave? If you think magically screaming and yelling is going to make him stop cheating, I think you've lost your ever-loving mind, because he didn't stop. He hasn't stopped. He continues on. Yeah, I mean, they have, I think it's August is the next date for that civil suit. I don't know. I haven't seen anything else in between from that. I did just see, though, that the Kohberger case will start on the 18th. She was an attorney in Brazil. She was never an attorney here in the States at all. And the equivalent to being able to be an attorney in Brazil is a bachelor's degree here. So way more schooling and training is needed here in the States than what they give in Brazil. And Brazil has a large problem with competent attorneys for a reason. Also, she was a civil attorney. She had nothing to do with any sort of criminal law. No wonder why she knows not a goddamn thing about the law. She was never an attorney in the States. She was an attorney in Brazil for civil matters. So when, of course, the Stuart Turtle said, well, one of them was an attorney. Not quite. She was a civil attorney in Brazil. She was not an attorney in the United States ever. Oh, so for 1 whole year? 1 whole year? Interesting. One whole year. Woohoo! I mean, if you have to ask whether videos are evidence, then you clearly did not do a good job of paying attention in whatever law school is in Brazil. Because I mean, you'd think that's kind of basic everywhere, right? Like video would be evidence. No matter what kind of video it is. Yeah, no, yeah, probably, yeah. I'm guessing yes. We have a couple other things to go over, but do me a favor and hit the like button if you guys can. If you can donate to the channel, it'd be very helpful. We have to keep rolling. And we're in the last couple days of the month. So what's today? Today is the 28th. So if we can get, a couple, I think tomorrow is going to be where tomorrow's more lax on our Sunday show. We have a good time on Sundays. I'm doing this thing where I'm figuring out new merch to make and all sorts of different things for the channel. And I'm working on maybe doing some long form videos that I hope you guys will love. Some of the editing will be fun. Hold on one second, guys. So the civil trial only needs 6, not 12 jurors. And it would be held in a different courthouse. Usually it's district, not, and it would be in civil, like whatever courts in that area do civil. It wouldn't be in Superior Court, that's for sure. Doesn't sound like you're trying to understand. So if you know nothing about me, that kind of doesn't make any sense. There is no shtick. I have dealt with 2 years of harassment because I believe that Karen is guilty according to the pieces of evidence. Right. So the cult HQ called. They need you back now. You might want to run along. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See, that's the problem right there. You have people who know nothing about nothing. They come in pretending to be like, well, I don't know anything about you, so I'm just trying to understand. And then they just run their mouths about things that they have no idea what they're talking about whatsoever. Clearly. That's very clear. I mean, yeah, that's what I tell them. If you're coming here just to troll, like the cult HQ called, they need you back there immediately to spread your ridiculous conspiracy theories. They're calling, they're paging you. Time to go. Time to go somewhere other than here, because I won't put up with that behavior here. If you know nothing about me or my channel, you can just go right along and F yourself if you're coming here to troll. I won't put up with it because I don't have to put up with it. See that? I've dealt with enough abuse and harassment for putting my opinion out there and sticking up for people who have been harassed and victimized, including dozens of the sewer turtles victims, many of which I have never said a word about because their privacy means a lot to me. And the fact that they came to me, I was honored. And everything they tell me is in confidence. I give them my opinion. Obviously, I'm here for them if they need support. But unless you've seen what the hell I've seen, keep your fucking opinion about coming here and talking about grifting to your goddamn self. Because in order to grift, you actually have to, I don't know, make ridiculous amounts of money. I don't. As you can see, you're not seeing super chats go off every 5 minutes. My donations aren't going off every 5 minutes. Because my opinion isn't the one of conspiracy. That doesn't sell. So save your ridiculous comments about grifting for the people actually doing it. Save it, for the love of God. It amazes me, the stupidity of some people. And the fact that you got to make multiple, you know, ridiculous fake accounts to keep coming in here after you've been banned is like really freaking sad. Really freaking sad. You know? Really, really sad. I got an anonymous $20 donation. Thank you so much, Anonymous. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. See, I mean, I'm getting like these little, you know, screenshots of the ridiculous things that these people say. And it's like, at this point, I don't know how anybody. That's another thing. Like, look, they're having fundraisers for a man who said that he already paid his attorney. You know? I'm supportive to anybody who I think is having a hard time or, you know, something nefarious is going on. The problem with him was I clearly did not know the background enough to know that he was just a piece of shit to begin with. I didn't lie for him. He got mad. He got mad. I didn't lie for him. It's not my job to lie for anyone, and I won't do it. Especially when you're stringing along women and then throwing them out like trash and then in their face prancing around someone else while you've been lying to their faces, and you expect that I'm just going to sit there and lie for you when asked? No, I'm not doing that. It's not my problem. Sorry. That's a you problem, not a fucking me problem. Here's an idea. Don't want to get caught? Don't do it. Don't do shady shit. You won't get caught. It's that simple. Right. Trying to understand how I don't seem to understand anything. So I just come onto channels to troll and run my mouth. I have a word when I'm not on air for people running their mouths, and it's not running. I don't use the word mouth. Let's just put it that way. Let's just put it that way. Yep, I'm so mean. Yep, I'm wicked mean. I'm so mean that I get to bounce you again. Isn't that amazing? Bye, Trollzilla. See you later. Bye, Trollzilla. Again, Cult HQ is calling. Maybe go see Tom CPU or something. Shocker. Shocker. You know? Oh, I bet. Law school is really expensive. Really expensive. But you know what? By then, hopefully you'll be able to buy a house or a new car or something amazing to help your family. You know, sometimes the best things are you wait for them, you know? It's amazing to me that they bother to come here, to be honest. I'm mean-spirited. You know what I find so funny about that? Is I've spent the last 18 years unpaid helping people as an advocate. I'm so mean-spirited that in my spare time, I help other people. Such an asshole, I know. Like, it's amazing to me, the shit that they say. You don't know me from a hole in the wall. You come here to troll and to hate watch for your cult leader. Go back to Cult HQ and hang out there then. I don't block anybody who doesn't agree with me. There's plenty of people on my channel who don't agree with me. I don't block. Isn't that funny? They still come here. I only block people like you who make fake accounts to troll. So you had to make 2 accounts to come back and troll again, which means you already had them made because it was too quick in between times, which means you use multiple sock accounts to harass people you don't like, which tells me you're a very unhinged, probably middle-aged woman that has nothing better to do with her life but follow the Karen Reed trial with the cult and harass people that the cult doesn't like. You live an amazing life, let me tell you. Very fulfilling. So fulfilling. It must be so fulfilling to spend your entire days harassing and hate watching people. I don't spend the time hate watching people. I don't bother. I get sent clips. I watch those, but I do not go out of my way to watch any of those people's streams, nor would I. I don't even play them here because I refuse to give them a click, a view, or a watch. They're deplorable human beings. that hurt many innocent people and didn't care. That is what grifting is. That is what they do. They need to, like, before they use the word, it's time to actually know the definition of it before you use the word. It's amazing to me. It's amazing to me, you know? Oh, yeah. They're and watch how many ridiculous people actually spend money sending it to him. I mean, that's the part that hurts my heart the most, because I'm such a mean-spirited person at all, is that some of these people are good-intentioned people that just don't know who he is yet. They just don't understand. They don't. They don't understand what a piece of human garbage he is, and they don't understand that behind your back, he's laughing at you, talking about how stupid or ugly you are, easy to convince of something that he lied to you about, and that how you'll just throw money at him no matter what. So he's collecting your money and laughing in your face about it. That's deplorable. And I hate that it's going to take probably the text messages coming out in his trial for some of these people to actually realize that they were duped, that they were used. He didn't give a shit about any of them. Cares about himself and himself only. I mean, isn't that abundantly clear with the whole, if you don't donate me more than $5, I will not read your comment and you're cheap. I mean, imagine saying that to people who are spending their hard-earned money on you, whether it's $1 or $2 or $3. Maybe that's all they have to give. But they gave it to you, and you have the audacity to call them cheap? I mean, who does that? That's insane to me, that anybody is okay with that. Or anybody's okay with him misreading a question and then completely berating someone who just sent him money because he didn't read the question correctly himself. Yet it absolutely blows my mind. It blows my mind. Don't even look. Don't bother. You'll want to throw up at how many people gave their hard-earned money to someone that you know is not only guilty, but has consistently kept committing crimes throughout this entirety of this time, that up till at least a couple weeks ago was still blackmailing people in writing, still calling people on the phone and screaming at them and threatening them. People say things like, oh, he's not dumb enough to put it in writing. Oh, he's not stupid enough to do that. We'll wait until they find out. Wait until they find out. And it's sad because they can't say no one tried to warn them. That actually hurts my heart because, believe it or not, I do have empathy and sympathy for people. And I don't believe that every person that bought into it was bad. I think they were easily misled. I think that they didn't bother, looking into anything. And I think they got wrapped up in this whole, like, oh, a lot of people think it, so it must be true, or, oh, whatever. But oh yeah, he said it. He's admitted to lying only very few times. They don't even realize how much they actually have been lied to. I mean, once again, when the people are like, oh, he always tells the truth, I have to literally laugh so hard that if I was drinking milk, it would come out of my nose. Because it's so absurd. Most of us know that he has a chronic case of diabetes and couldn't tell the truth if you friggin' paid him to. All right. The things that I have watched him do to people and his victims are I would hope that 90% of his viewership would be utterly disgusted. Then I think about it and I'm like, well, there's at least 10 or 20% of them that will just go, oh, fuck it. It's okay to harass and blackmail. Here's the thing. You don't have to threaten and blackmail people if you didn't do anything wrong. Just FYI, folks, you do not have to blackmail and threaten people if you're not doing anything wrong. No, I think Tom is kicking off the 12-hour fundraiser, I think. And they were already doing that the other night, too. I don't know what they're raising money for. He says his attorneys are paid for, but magically now needs more money. I don't know. I don't know. Yes, Karen herself. I know, right? Thank you for pointing that out. Karen herself. Yep. We know. We know. We do know. Hey, Becca. How are you today? Ew. Shame on Middleborough for hosting them. Right? Karen, thanks for pointing that out, Aura L. Owens. We appreciate that. Yep. You know what I'm saying? What are you switching back and forth over there? I mean, it's amazing. How many fake accounts do you need? How many fake accounts does one person need? Really sad and really pathetic. Like, come on. See, that I could probably get with. If you're donating to a children's hospital or something like that, I could totally get with something like that. That I could do. That I threw in a little bit of money towards getting Peggy some flowers after the verdict, just to say, like, hey, we're here and we're sorry. And I would do that 10 times over. I know, right? I don't know why they would have it in Middleborough. Maybe it's the only place that would host them. I don't know. It's possible that that's the only place that would host them. I don't know. I don't know. Did she? I didn't. I figured you guys had that. The funny thing is most of us don't have to lie because there's nothing to lie about. I would love to know what she seems to think people over here would need to lie about. There's nothing for us to lie about. I think most of us have been very upfront and honest. No, go for it. I mean, it's funny to me. You got to make that many fake accounts to just keep coming in and saying nonsensical things. Get a life, maybe. I don't know. It's possible. Oh, God bless your soul, my friend. God bless your soul. God bless your soul. Hold on. It's funny because some of these people don't even realize that they've been like, they keep writing things on my videos as if anybody's going to see them. Like, dude, you've been banned for trolling. Nobody sees them but you idiots. So you're wasting your time doing finger push-ups, putting these comments on my videos that nobody but yourself sees. And I just chuckle because they don't seem to realize that they're the only ones seeing it. I get the notification it's there, like that they wrote it, but it doesn't actually get posted to YouTube because YouTube filters out anybody who's been blocked or banned. So it's just amazing to me. It's so amazing to me that they just keep doing it. It's like, okay, you can spend eternity writing those trolly messages, but guess what? They're gone. Nobody sees them but you. I mean, the best she can, the best that she can. I mean, how does a mom deal with something like this, She's lost 2 of her children, her son-in-law, and she's raising her grandkids. And she had to deal with, awful people screaming things, awful things at her and her surviving child, as if they're somehow the bad people for losing a loved one in some horrific manner. Make that make sense to anyone. How any of these people can be okay with the things that these people have done to the O'Keeffes is beyond comprehension to me. Beyond comprehension. Doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. It's sad. And no victim's family should ever have to deal with it. It's unacceptable. The O'Keeffes did nothing but lose a loved one. And yet they had to walk through a mob of people that screamed at them, called them names, and have been, I think we're all, most people, I think, call her Peggy just because she almost feels like everyone's mom, Yeah, no, she is. Laura Michelle Owens. That's one that we've been looking into a little bit. Yes, we do. Yeah, I mean, that's the sad part. Like anybody, there was this whole thing of people saying, "Oh, well, she's mentally unwell." The lady dancing in front of the house, mentally unwell or not, she knew enough to drive her car there, park it, do it in front, move in front of the house where the cameras are, do that there, get back in the car and leave. So I don't want to hear that, oh, she's mentally unwell, she did it all over Canton. Yeah, in the places that are related to the people in this case. So mentally unwell or not, you know right from wrong. That woman very well knew right from wrong and thought she was going to get a pat on the back for it. You know? I mean, she's just doing the best that she can with what she's been dealt, you know? And the same goes for everyone else. I mean, these people are still harassing Chris Albert's pizza shop, dude. Why? Why? For what reason? If you think standing across the street from his pizza shop every Sunday is magically going to make him do something you want him to do, it's not. You're bullies. Sorry, my thing was buffering, so I had to fix it. But yeah, I have CPTSD. It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse to be an asshole. It's not an excuse to spread misinformation or lie. It's just not. It's not a freaking excuse. I don't care what excuse they want to use. And then the excuse was, well, she's not even FKR. These people actually tried to write community notes. I kid you not. They've like tried to overtake community notes. Funny enough, I'm in community notes. So I always actually read them and see if it's actually helpful or not. And they keep writing these notes like, oh, the news has acquired her to FKR, but we don't actually know that she is. No, we do. And she is. And so, of course, I'm reading them not helpful because they're not helpful. Y'all are lying. Then people are actually writing community notes on X about how, you guys are going to love this, how the sewer turtle has won awards for journalism. False. False. He has never won an award for journalism ever because he's not a journalist. He's a blogger. And even his credentials he got to get into the courthouse, he only got those last year. So his awards were for best blogger in Worcester County in 2014 and 2015, and he got booed when he accepted it, just FYI. They were for best blog, not for journalism, for blogging, okay? So to write a community note saying he's a award-winning journalist, no, he's not. No, that is factually incorrect. And you're writing factually incorrect community notes on X. What's wrong with you people? Once again, when you have been fed misinformation and BS for so long and you just hear it over and over and over, this is how cults happen. This is how it happens. Mantras get said over and over. So when people say he's an award-winning journalist, people just keep saying that. People just believe it without ever looking into it, without ever checking to see that that's not true. He's not. That's not a thing. Like, what the hell? Ridiculous, you know? Yeah, she was very aware of what the hell she was doing. Drove her damn car there to do it. Got out of her car, walked all the way back to where the front of the house is. Now, mind you, in the front of Peggy O'Keefe's home, where she lives with those children, there are no trespassing signs attached to the fence, like you cannot miss them. They're literally everywhere. What that means is stay the F away. Go away. Leave them alone. That's what it means. The fact that you would think it's okay to go over there and do what you did is just deplorable. But these are the kind of people that he sort of attaches to, or they attach to him, are just deplorable human beings that clearly are mentally unwell and need a place to, I don't know, feel like they belong because they don't belong. They feel like they don't belong other places, you know? Dougie sends $20 and says, thank you for all you do. Thank you, Dougie. I appreciate you, my friend. Let's see. Oh, hold on 1 second, guys. I just got to run to the back. I'll be right Sorry, guys. Well, that's the thing. She's very aware. She saw the other car coming. I don't. I have no idea if they're going to charge her or not. I mean, she would really learn what it's like, right? You know, but she could have gotten hurt being near in the middle of the road. Someone could have clipped her, you know? Oh, man. That's awful. That's awful. You know, some people do some real depraved shit, you know? Real depraved. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because people get hurt in the process of all of it. And innocent good people get hurt in the process of all of it. And it's really sad to see it happen. And I fear that some of this pivots over to the Idaho case. And I hope that these people don't jump on the pro-burger train and they stay in their lane. They can keep talking about Karen until the cows come home, as long as they don't bring their ridiculous conspiracy claims over to other cases to hurt more victims' families, because people don't have backbones to say enough is enough. That's half the problem I see with all this, you know, is that there aren't enough people willing to speak up and say this isn't right. And I'll tell you why. We know why. There was actually content creators last year that privately, and those got leaked, had messages with people. And people were like, hey, why are you jumping on this Karen is innocent train? These people are doing some pretty horrific, awful, deplorable things. And the content creator was like, well, you know, I know Aiden's a psycho and he's a crazy person and does all sorts of really bad shit. And I don't agree with the stuff that they do. And I don't agree with them, but they pay my bills. So if I say anything, he's going to come after me like he came after everyone else. That's sad. If that's the kind of audience that you want, are people who are just going to throw money at you, whether you're telling the truth or not, I guess so be it. But that's not the audience I want. If my audience is, you know, no, it wasn't her, but I'm sure it's down the same road. But listen, if that's the kind of audience people want, cool, that's great. That's great. That's not the kind of audience I want. I want my audience to donate to my channel because they like being here, right? They appreciate the content, or they appreciate coming here and having conversations with each other, and that I engage in those conversations with them. I don't want them coming here and just throwing money, whether I lie or not. That's not, I mean, you should want to get the best information you can get and make sure that the person who's attempting to give it to you is vetting that information and that they're attempting to make sure that the information they're giving is correct. Not flouting conspiracy theories they know are not true, but will spout them because they know the conspiracy crowd will throw lots of money at them during their streams. That's the part that is a line for me. The line exists where if you have overstepped that line from giving good content and real information to lying to get the money, that's when it becomes a problem for me. I just don't understand it. It doesn't really make sense to me, but hey, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it other than give the correct information, right? But we got on a little bit of a tangent here. I did have some cases, of course, that I wanted to talk about because we've seen a lot of crazy cases this year and last year, and a lot of them are coming to trial soon. You know, a lot of them have also been put off, right? So you have the Corey Richins case. That's the lady who wrote the children's book when her husband died, and they're accusing her of like overdosing him or poisoning him more than once, right? And then we have the Adelson stuff, Donna Adelson, of course, another one of the Adelson family members. And then the Kohberger stuff now we have Barry Morphew, who's been indicted for Suzanne Morphew's killing all this time later. But there have been some really strange, weird cases that are a little older, but that are sort of getting renewed attention in 2025, right? One of those being one of the ones we did the other day, which is the Essex billionaire murders, which is apparently what it's called. I actually didn't know this until after I covered this, but there's actually a documentary on this case, I found out. Haven't watched it yet, but this is about Carol and Stephen Baxter, the millionaires that were killed by their like basically person that they let into their family that helped them. And then in around 2019, they think, he started planning how to basically poison and kill them and then try to take over their company and their money. And well, he did just that. And so let me see if I think I wrote down the name of it, but I'm trying to see. Yeah, and it was Easter Sunday when it was like, that's when they were found by their daughter. Both died in a chair after drinking a fentanyl laced smoothie that this guy had made them with his fake persona that he had made online, this doctor. We went over this entire thing. Okay, here it is. 2025 ITV documentary. I don't know what ITV is, but I'm sure if it's in the UK, you guys know, because it doesn't sound like it's a US thing, but it is a UK case. So it says a 2025 ITV documentary, The Essex Millionaire Murders, is the documentary. I haven't seen it, but again, Luke DeWitt, the guy that's accused of all of this, is clearly an unhinged lunatic. So they found a lot of things when this guy was arrested. We went over all of this the other night. So if this is something that you want to know more about, you should watch our channel from the other day that I did this case, because it was quite interesting going through it. Okay, that's what I thought. I thought it was a UK because I looked at it and I was like, this can't be US. I don't know. I wonder if there's any way for us to get that documentary here, though. You think there's a way that we can get it here if it's on that channel? I wonder, because I kind of want to watch it. I want to see it. I want to see what they say, But I mean, he was convicted and sentenced, of course, to life in prison with a minimum of 37 years. The lead detective called him a cool, calculated killer who likely would have killed again. Sad. So this one really got me. And this one was such a weird case. Such a freaking weird case. It was called, it says, The Essex Millionaire Murders. That's what it's called. On ITV. That's what it's called. So this one was the curious case of Natalia Grace. How many of you have heard of this one? Natalia Grace. So, some true crime stories are pretty bizarre, but this one is like out of a freaking sci-fi movie. And it is kind of, in a way. It makes you question, like, is this reality? We saw a little bit of that in the Karen Reed case. Like, wait a second, is this reality that we're dealing with right now? But this case of Natalia Grace, this is one of those ones where you're like, is this freaking reality right now? So I do have that name written down. I have not delved into it yet, but that is literally written down, Okay, this is like what? You're like fourth or fifth fake account? Like, bro, you're doing too much. Trollzilla, you're doing too much. When you use the same, you're mean-spirited, it's funny to me because like that's like your fourth fake account. Get a life, number one. Number two, I don't care what you think. Number three, anybody calling me mean-spirited clearly does not know me. So please troll somewhere else. Go make another one of your 17 fake accounts. For the love of God, find something else to do with your life other than making 17 fake accounts. I'm just going to block and ban them within seconds. I don't know why you waste your time. But hey, keep doing it. I'll just block them all. Don't have to deal with you. Again, Cult HQ is calling. You might want to go back there. The fact that you people spend your time making fake accounts and then actually sitting here and watching my entire stream is really sad. That's beyond pathetic. Go watch Tom or something, or the Glare, or one of the other cultists. I don't want you here. Goodbye. Like, go somewhere with yourself. No one wants or needs your view. Go away. I know, right? It's a good one. It takes like, I think for me, it takes like 10 minutes at least to start going. But The Ghost of Highway 20 is a very good documentary. It's got 5 parts to it, a total of like 2 hours. But if you play them, they'll play simultaneously. They're really good. It's really good. But that guy was a sick human being. That's for sure. I'm saying it was good. All right. So back to this, you know, back to this before Trollzilla comes back. You know, so this lady, or I guess lady or not lady, they think she was either a kid or not a kid. This is the weird part about it. This is the yes, Ski, yes. This is the weird part, okay? So this one is so strange because there's no answers to it exactly, okay? So here it is. It says, sparking intense debate over one central question: who is Natalia Grace? Right? Who is Natalia Grace? It says basically that it started in 2010 when Christine and Michael Barnett adopted a 6-year-old Ukrainian girl named Natalia. All right. She had a rare form of dwarfism, they say. And at first they were super happy, right? But soon they weren't happy anymore and a little bit terrified, you know? The Barnetts claim that Natalia wasn't a kid at all, that she was an adult woman pretending to be a child, and that she was a sociopath, a murderous sociopath. This is what are the claims, okay? They say she had murderous intent and that she threatened to stab their sons and poison Christine. So things got so extreme that in 2012, so that's just 2 years later, the Barnetts legally changed her birth year from 2003 to 1989, which would make her 35 right now, almost 36, depending on the month, obviously. But they changed it to 1989, making her in 2012, 22 years old on paper. And then a year later, they rented an apartment for her, left her there alone, and moved with their biological sons to Canada. All right. This led to neglect charges against the Barnetts in 2019. So a whole nother 7 years later. And the case from there sort of exploded, right? Natalia has always denied everything, insisting that she was a kid who was abused and then abandoned. Okay. That she told her side and there's a docuseries for this. Docuseries, The Curious Case of Natalia Grace, Natalia Speaks. And in it, a 2023 blood test was revealed, which estimated her age to be around 22. This suggested she was about 9 when the Barnetts adopted her. Okay. Completely contradicting their story, as Natalia puts it. This one little piece of paper throws every single lie that the Barnetts have said right into the trash with a match. So she said. So after they left her, she was taken in by another couple, Antoine and I have it, Cynthia Mans. All right. That's the couple's name. So they eventually adopted her. All right. And it seemed like that was the sort of happy ending, right? That's what it seemed like, that it was a happy ending. So cool, great, wonderful. But then at the very end of the docuseries, this is the weird part, a phone call from the Mans was played where they claimed something isn't right with Natalia. She's the enemy in the house. And so that was really strange. And the saga at that point just kept going, right? Just kept going. In 2025, this year, of course, a new fictionalized series called Good American Family is basically dramatizing her life. And in January 2025, Natalia appeared on the cover of People magazine, revealing that she was no longer living with the Manns and she had moved in with another family. She said, "I'm really just trying to take control of my life and stop letting other people control it. This new version feels amazing. It feels free." The legal case against the Barnetts, it's over. But the public is still kind of divided on the case itself. Is Natalia a manipulative adult who has conned multiple families, or was she a kid? Is she a victim of abuse, of lifelong abuse? Her case is confusing and definitely something out of a sci-fi movie. I think there was a movie called I think it was The Orphan, which kind of was similar to this. And it makes you wonder. I didn't see this documentary series, but this case itself is something real strange. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried. That is just crazy to me. Crazy that's even a question. Was she an adult or was she a kid? That should have been easy to, document, or there's got to be a way, right, to tell at some point. Insane to me. So that one was the one that really stuck out. Of course, one of the bigger ones that we've seen people, researching that weren't alive for it last time was the Menendez brothers, right? Where 30 years ago, Lyle and Eric Menendez killed their mother, Kitty, and their dad. The weird thing is they used shotguns and they killed their mother, not just their father. Their father had been accused by them and later on other people of sexually abusing the boys and other people, which is part of what they used to try to get out, to use parole, right? To get out on parole. Unfortunately, but in 2025, it turned, right? Everybody focusing on to re-examine the case itself. So weird, weird. Their lawyers in 2023 filed for a new sentence. They were citing new evidence, which was the letters that I think it was Eric or Lyle, maybe Eric had sent to a cousin way back when about what the dad was doing to them, right? So this was a huge legal battle in 2025. The key to their argument was the California law for youthful offenders, which allows for resentencing for people who committed their crimes before they were 26 in California. And they fit that, description at the time. So in May of this year, an LA judge made a landmark decision and said, and this judge was Judge Michael Jessic, ruled the brothers would be resentenced to 50 years to life. This was apparently a huge thing for them. After 35 years behind bars, life without parole was off the table. For the first time, Lyle and Eric had some sort of path to freedom at some point. Then in May 2025, June, the end of May 2025, their cousin was at the hearing. It was emotional. And some of the jurors, I believe, from the last trial had come and said, hey, like, if we had known this, maybe we wouldn't have voted to convict on a higher charge. Their cousin was there to help them. The attorneys praised the judge for his ability to cancel out all the noise and do what justice required. The resentencing itself means they're now eligible for a parole hearing, which the final decision is up to the state parole board. Okay. And I mean, as we know, the parole board has their job to do, but it's a very real likelihood that they could be released. Their age, things that they have to take into account when deciding on whether to release people or not. It would obviously be under supervision, but it's a real possibility that they could be released at some point. Is it fair? Should they have to continue to stay in jail forever when their parents are no longer alive, or did they do enough time? That question will probably never be answered. Any person you ask it to will give you a different answer. That case is a hard case because a lot of the stuff that nobody believed, now we know had at least some, credit to it, that it actually did happen, and that they were dealing with some horrific abuse. The question remains to me, though, then why your mom? Why both the parents then? Why not just the dad? Why your mom too? Weird to me. To me, I don't know which one is what. I mean, it was a weird case to read into, that's for sure. These are some of the most bizarre cases that I came across. I was like, that's something from a sci-fi movie. That's bizarre. Like even the theory of it is bizarre in my eyes. It's weird, the Daniel Reed Smith death, right? And so most of these bizarre cases have names to them, at least, and not all of them do, because this one doesn't. And it's baffling because of the huge gap between the official story and the family's gut feeling that the truth is being covered up. Okay. So this is the story of DJ Reed Smith, Daniel, aka DJ Reed Smith. He was a 29-year-old father whose death on a set of railroad tracks in South Carolina has sparked years of fights for justice in that case. In August 11, 2018, DJ's body was found on a remote stretch of tracks near Ridgeville, South Carolina. The official conclusion was tragic accident, right? Horrible accident. But for his family, including his mom and his stepfather, who happened to be a local investigator, that never made sense to them. That never made sense. It just never made sense to them. The night before, DJ had been at a party, and when the investigation started, the stories from people at that party were inconsistent. They conflicted, didn't make much sense. Yet the family felt that the authorities were sort of reluctant to investigate it as a possible murder. So for years, it just went cold. That was it. Just went cold. So they kept fighting, as any family would. I would too. If this is your child or loved one, you're going to keep fighting too. So their fight for the truth gained pretty major steam recently. In early 2024, the family filed a lawsuit that alleges DJ was in fact murdered. The lawsuit paints a chilling picture about claims that DJ got into a fight at the party, possibly over a woman, and then ran from the house. Weird. I don't know the state of that case, but I'll look. So and then so they say he ran from the house, and then the lawsuit alleges that the other men chased him down in a truck, ran him over, killed him, and then staged his body on the tracks, on the railroad tracks, right? And to make it look like an accident. The theory was supported by an independent autopsy analysis, confirming the family's suspicions of foul play. So the renewed attention to it in 2025 has kept the case sort of basically in public eye, sort of highlighting the family's struggles of how to get this investigated correctly in a way that shows actually what happened, instead of just saying, oh, it was a horrible accident. Let's investigate it and see. It was Dorchester County authorities to make any attempt to find his killer, and that's what they put in the lawsuit. It's a weird mystery with lots of unanswered questions, that's for sure. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second, guys. My little's not taking no for an answer when I told her I can't do something that I've tried to do 3 times. She's mad because it won't sign into YouTube. My husband's having a problem with his YouTube account, well, his Google account that says he's not, that his account, that he isn't his age. So someone must have hacked into his account, changed the account, like birth date or birth year. And so it won't sign in. And so it's his old phone that she wants to use instead of watching it on the TV. And it won't sign into YouTube, and it also won't let you use it as a guest. So we tried it yesterday. It won't work. You know how little kids are. Well, you got to do it. No, we've already tried this. No, you got to do it. No, we've already done this. It doesn't work. Like, kids are relentless and they don't give up. Like, it doesn't work, dude. We've tried this a million times. Like, a million. A million. Right. They didn't, Right. I mean, hello, railroad tracks are smarter, right? Why not just use your own lawn? Amateurs. Amateurs. I mean, hello. To me, the point of some of these were that they were so weird, where they had these little bits of case, like things that we've seen in other cases that I was like, this is weird enough for me to dig a little bit into this, right? Not even a little, not even a little. I mean, hey. So now at least they're looking into it with a new eye on that case, because of all of the attention around it, They continue to fight, but they want to know why the initial investigation stopped and why weren't the conflicting stories taken a little bit more seriously. And was it a terrible murder or a accident or a cover-up, is what they are saying, what the family is saying in the lawsuit. So they continue to fight to see what the hell is going on in that case, and it's weird. Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched it. I'm gonna have to definitely watch the documentary. These are just some weird ones that I found, and I was like, yeah, you can't make this stuff up. This is just like weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just even looking into them, it's like, how did people get to this point where some of these things occur or happen or even become a thing, Okay, Jess, don't worry. We got lots of people in we have other mods that are watching. So Crystal Beale, anybody heard of that one? Anyone? The murder of Crystal Beale. Anybody heard of this one? This is one I saw. I looked into a little, and the problem with this one is it kind of came out of nowhere, right? No clear motive, no easy answers, like just kind of clear out of left field. Okay. So Crystal Beale, she was a 49-year-old mother from Brisbane, Australia. Funny enough, we have some Australia viewers from Australia. Her murder in early 2025 has, left a community pretty terrified. and a family looking for some friggin' answers to a complete mystery as to what the hell happened. So February 22nd, early this year, 2025, someone walking along the Brisbane Corso, which I'm assuming is a waterway, discovered a woman's body in the Brisbane River. The woman was identified as Crystal Beale. At first, the police said her death appeared to be accidental, non-suspicious, they said, because there was no obvious injuries to her. But her daughter, Charlie Rose Wagner, later said, at first we were assured that her death was non-suspicious. Weeks later, that assurance was ripped away. After a post-mortem exam, investigators found hidden injuries that told a much darker story. Okay. Police suddenly announced they were launching a homicide investigation. As her daughter said, the news was horrific. And of course, that's going to change her family's life forever, as it has at this point. The investigation slowly sort of pieced together Crystal's last known movements, places she had been, things she had done, but there were like huge gaps, big gaps. On the evening of February 21st, it says she had dinner with her family and friends, and she was dropped off in the West End area of Brisbane. She was last seen near, I'm going to bungle this, Orleigh Park, Orleigh, Orleigh Park, wearing a distinctive long white with a brown, long white dress with a brown leather satchel. After that, the timeline kind of goes dark a little bit. So the police don't know how or when she ended up in the river. Okay. So detectives have sort of pleaded with the public for help releasing CCTV video footage. Brisbane. Oh, okay. Brisbane. Got it. Thank you. Brisbane. I would have thought it was Bane too. Brisbane. Got it. So they released some CCTV footage of two people walking nearby that night and urged anybody who was driving, riding a scooter, or even fishing in the area to come forward, believing that those people could hold the key to maybe what happened to her. Police are looking into all of the possibilities, including a random attack, but one focus has been on her former partner that she might have been meeting with that night. Her daughter, in a tribute, remembered her as a beautiful, selfless woman. The murder of Crystal Beale is strange at best. It's a whodunit because they have no idea what, when, where, why, how, and that there's no clear motive for anyone, really. No clear suspect, no obvious motive. You know, that case is just a kind of a stark reminder of sometimes we just don't know. And there's no easy answer to cases sometimes. And some of the most terrifying people are the ones that we never see coming. In this case, God knows who. In John's case, Karen. Supposed to be the people you care about, people you love, you never see it coming. And you never think someone would do something like that to you. Poor Crystal, they don't have any answers as to how this could have happened, why. Sad. I hope that her family does get answers to her case because they deserve answers as to what happened to their loved one, you know? So there's been so many weird cases recently, and also some with renewed attention recently. But some of these are just bizarre. No clear motives. Is it a child? Is it an adult? You know, getting close to a family and then poisoning their smoothies with fentanyl. You know, with Carol and Stephen Arnett, the millionaire, who's from Essex, England. Those people, the one we did on the other day, that case really bothered me because, you know, they were older, they had well established in life, they were just trying to run their business and live life, and they brought this 30-something-year-old man sort of into their lives, and he helped out in their house, and he was in their business all the time and at their business all the time, and yet he hides cameras and watches them die after feeding them fentanyl-laced smoothies. And then their daughter has to find, and then he comes back. He comes back and removes the camera and the drinks, obviously, before the daughter finds them both in the chairs on Easter Sunday, 2 days after they actually pass. So, I mean, some of these cases are something that you would read out of a book. Things that you never would think could happen. And saying like, "Hey, how does this happen?" Right? I have no doubt that she probably does need some or needed some psych help. I mean, foster care in itself will make you need that, or at least therapy. I was a foster care kid, believe me. It's not welcoming, even if you're not in, specialized foster care is for kids who need a family. And it's not for bad kids, right? It's for kids that need families. And I was in foster care for a couple years, and it's not a place that it really should be for kids. Most of the time, it's for people who want to take as many foster kids as they want to keep collecting a check for each kid. And they don't really care about the kids. A lot of abuse happens and it gets ignored, especially even when you're screaming from the rooftops that something's going on. They just dismiss it as the kid must be lying and they don't listen. Also, knowing that if something is going on and they discover it, it's going to be news. So they just stick their fingers in their ears and act like nothing happened. And that's half the problem that we have with things like that need to be fixed, which is why I say our laws need to catch up, not just for victims' rights, but for all sorts of things, because the digital age itself, and now that we have, your computers are watching you, your phones are watching you, they're listening, they're recording things you're typing in, you're saying, all of that happens. And then what? Right? And then what? You can now track movements of people. So now the laws have not caught up to allowing for evidence to be used in certain ways. It has not caught up for victims to have rights. Yes, a defendant has to have rights because we do have wrongfully accused people. And I have no problem pointing out when corruption exists or when someone's doing something wrong in a position of power. There have been people when I was a child, a kid, in many positions of power that did not do their jobs. And as a matter of fact, covered their own asses instead of doing what was right for the kids that they were supposed to be overseeing or helping. And the system didn't just fail me, it failed many people. And I've lived it. I know what it's like. But I also know when you have evidence where it leads or doesn't lead. So if you have evidence that it's not going, towards a conspiracy, it's going away from a conspiracy, you have to be brave enough to say, hey, it's not it, even if it's not what the loud minority of people who bought it say. You have to remember, a lot of these people who are screaming from the rooftops it was a conspiracy, at that point they had already figured out there was no conspiracy. They had already figured it out. They just figured out that if they kept screaming it, that the money would keep flowing in, which it has, and it did. So, my fear is that they, like I said, bring it to other cases like the Idaho 4. I refuse to allow them to keep tainting cases and poisoning jury pools with nonsensical conspiracy theories. I think some of them are, and that's kind of the problem, right? Is some of them are so confusing and sensationalized that it's hard to get down to the nitty-gritty of what is and what isn't, which is partly why, especially in cases that don't always have the gag orders, why I always pull the court documents, because I want to see the court documents, not just what one side is saying, but I want to see both, because if you don't put the pieces of evidence together, then you don't get the full picture. You don't get the full story. And then you're only speculating, and we can speculate until the cows come home. Doesn't mean we're going to get any good answers. That's for damn sure. So I think media has a big part in all of this, and part of their issue is that they're not calling out bad behavior because they're part of it. They're part of the bad behavior. In no capacity has the mainstream media reported on the harassment and the real big issue of the constant cyber stalking of families or victims. That's an issue that has not been addressed by the mainstream media. They're fully aware of it. Fully aware of it. Yet they don't do anything. They do nothing. It's amazing to me. They sit on it and sit on it and sit on it, knowing what's going on. Don't call it out. Don't do anything until the case is over. And then, in turn, they want to talk about it after the case is over. It's sad. It's really, really sad. Really, really, really sad. Oh, Hot Billy. Nobody can see your comment and nobody cares. Go back to Cult HQ with your stock accounts and fake accounts and your ridiculous nonsense. This is why you hate watchers watch on X, because, well, you're usually already banned here in chat now, aren't you? Sad state of affairs when that's all that you have to do is harass someone. Get a life, dude. Get a life. You know, grifters are out in full force today. The stalkers of HQ are out in full force today. You don't have anything else better to do today? Amazing, you know? I think they watch too much CSI, Lisa. Everybody wants a case to be wrapped up in 24 hours, nice and pretty with a bow. You know, all the tests run, everything smoothly. The crime scene tech comes there, gets everything they need, off they go. This isn't a TV show. This is real life. And when you live in I mean, how do you think that people in like Antarctica, you know, if they have a crime there, they don't have a police force sitting there waiting, you know? There's barely any life other than animals, other than government buildings or whatever. But what if some horrific crime happened and, you know, somebody got killed in one of the government buildings, but they're doing like investigations or even lab stuff on? What if one of those people got killed by someone else, one of the other people? You think that they're going to come out there with a full crime scene ready to go in 5 minutes? Absolutely not. Alaska, for instance, some of the really far out places, you got to improvise. You got to do with what you can do. Canton hadn't had a murder in 25 years at that point. They didn't just have, also, again, any unattended deaths in the state of Massachusetts. Legally, the jurisdiction goes to the state police. It's not the Canton PD. Canton PD knew that that blood would degrade and get covered over by snow, and they knew they had one chance to get it. Find something plastic and new. Plastic is your best bet, and get the splotches of blood into the cups. That they improvised. They did what they could to get evidence that would have deteriorated or been lost by the weather. You know what I mean? The fact that people can't figure out that they had to learn to sort of use what they could in those circumstances is amazing to me. It was a blizzard. What did they want people to do exactly? Some of the state police, some people took their own cars. Some of the state police officers, because the cruisers or whatever they have wouldn't have made it in that type of snow. So they took their own trucks, you know, out to where they needed to go, whether it was the police station or the scene, because the different officers went to different places. But what in the actual hell? They videotaped, they took pictures, they did a lot. They did a lot. And to me, the fact that it was made such a circus is half the problem. That's half the freaking issue. Is that all of the actual evidence and the pieces of things that we could see right in front of us were drowned out by conspiracy theories, nonsensical BS, people talking about the house and a pool, mixing up the fact that the Alberts did not have a pool at Fairview that was filled in. That was their parents' pool. Like, they don't even know what is what and where is where, because they've heard so much nonsense that they conflate things into one that are not one. And that just kept going on and on and on and on and on. You know? That's another thing. They didn't know whether they're investigating an accident, a crime, what at first, until Karen's out there screaming, I hit him. And even then, They don't know. Did she hit him, punch him in the face? Is she just in shock? What is going on? So, I mean, they had to start looking for evidence. That was their first indication that, hold on, something else might have happened here. And then that's when they called for a CERT team to come out and see if they could find pieces of evidence in all of that snow, which is when they started uncovering glass and taillight pieces, you know? They've known where Chloe was for 2 years. I've known where Chloe was since 2023, early summer 2023. They damn well knew where that dog was if I knew where that dog was, first of all. Secondly, they didn't get an impression like Hank did because I knew it would never match. They knew damn well that dog had nothing to do with anything, which is why they never visited that dog, which is why they never went and got DNA, which is why they just threw their hands up and said, well, if we do nothing, we can just act like whatever. They knew damn well where that dog was the entirety of the time. I tried to tell people that. No one listened. It took what, the Alberts to do their interview for people to realize they had known, just like I said in the first trial, they know damn well where that dog is. That was a bull-faced lie from Yannetti and Jackson. Jackson had no problem standing there lying, not even just lying to the judge, but grandstanding for the court cameras, knowing that he was lying. That's something I have a problem with, because it's not just twisting the truth, but blatantly lying in front of cameras and to a judge. That's a whole nother ethical problem. A whole nother ethical problem. Sad, but true. You know, it's unfortunate, but these are the types of people that we're dealing with. It's sad that this is where our fight needs to go, is into changing the laws and making sure that victims, witnesses, families don't get harassed into oblivion because their loved one dies because they're witnesses in a case. Who the hell is ever going to want to be a witness in a case ever again in this state? I just want to know. Nobody I know is going to want to be a witness in a case in this goddamn state. Ever. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing, is the judge was informed where the dog was. She should have never allowed the circus to begin with. Another mistake by the judge. They did not meet the burden for third party. They did not meet the burden for Bowden. I don't think they met the just like in Idaho, at least that judge is like, nope, you don't meet the burden for that. Nope, you're not allowed to do that. It's not happening. Judge Canoni didn't have the backbone to do that. Too worried about appeals, apparently. She just let them. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. And she should have known better. And I know, you know, most of the lawyers in the state are not going to criticize a sitting judge in case they have to be in front of that judge. But I really wish that some attorneys would come out and call out some of the judge's behavior as wrong, because it is. She had no control over that courtroom whatsoever. And half of the shenanigans that were allowed were partly because she was so lax. That's a huge problem. This whole allowing them to do things last minute that should have been an immediate denial. I've never seen a judge take so many things under consideration, not rule some of it from the bench. Insane to me. She was a defense attorney that did murder cases. That's why. But that's a problem. That becomes a problem, which is why they should never be allowed to be judges if that's how it's going to work. We also, at this point, I think we need to vote our judges in and out. I don't think there needs to be any more appointing of judges in the state of Massachusetts. These judges now need to be voted in or out so that when they're doing a shitty job, we can vote them out. Because these like lifetime appointments until they die or they decide to retire thing, no matter what shitty thing they're doing, it just doesn't sit right with me. And in a lot of states, your judges are voted in, you know, voted in and out. Crap. It's really just sad. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap this up because I'm going to go eat my lunch. But we have a Sunday show at 11:30 tomorrow morning. As we always have our Sunday shows. They're a little more laxed with sort of going over things that you guys want to talk about, and maybe a surprise watch here or there. But if you guys would like, what the hell, I'll get something up that we can watch tomorrow together. Well, she'll never be free, especially since she knows what she did. She's got to live with that every single day of her miserable life. And all that money that she keeps getting, she may have to pay to the O'Keefes and anyone else who sues her, you know? It does only help the lawsuits. Apparently, they don't seem to, I mean, of course, they realize that, but they just think that they'll get out of it probably. There's no way, you know? They lied in open court to a judge, and then the judge found that they lied on purpose and did shady stuff. So it's like your reputations are already, you know, I don't know why you would continue with this facade instead of just going away from it and hiding at that point, you know? But hey, this is what we're dealing with these types of people. Do me a favor, guys, on your way out, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to donate to the channel, we would appreciate it. That's how, you know, we get by, is by donations from you guys. We rely on them. Or maybe get a channel membership. That always helps. And we do members only live sometimes, and we're going to start some shorts. I haven't quite gotten to all the shorts yet, but I'm working on it. I'm also working on some long form cases for sure. So they do think they're untouchable. I agree with you, Dougie. I 100% agree. So we have these ways: Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut, and then we have a link in the chat. It's also in the description of the video. All of the information on how to donate is in the description of the video as well. The link is pinned inside of the chat on YouTube for if you want to use credit or debit, and also in the description of the video itself. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. If you donate when I'm not live, I will read it when I am live next, which would be tomorrow. And I will see you guys at 11:30 tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'll check you guys in the Discord per usual. I love your stinking faces, and I will see you all later. Bye.